prestige.
No.
Think of the respect.
No.
Think of the Tony.
Hello, all you theater fans, both out and proud and on the DL, and welcome back to Broadway Breakdown, a podcast discussing the history and legacy of American theater's most exclusive address, Broadway. We are continuing with our Tony segments. I am your host, Matt Koplik, the least famous and most opinionated of all the Broadway podcast hosts, and with me today is a dear friend, his first time on the breakdown. We are popping his cherry. Please welcome Broadway producer David Lynch. Hi, David.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. David, you have two shows represented this Broadway season.
Yes, I have two shows, Enemy of the People and Harmony.
Yes, you do. And then last year you had the Tony-winning parade.
Yes, a little show.
Yes. Are we allowed to mention your upcoming show or no?
Queen of Versailles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I guess we are.
Yeah. So next show is Queen of Versailles with Kristen Chenoweth in Boston this summer.
I look forward to my invitation to go to Boston and see the show.
Yes, of course.
At the Emerson Colonial, where I went to school.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can happily buy yourself a train ticket up there and let me know when you're coming, and I will buy you a coffee before the show. And that's what we'll do. I was very impressive. That introduction was very impressive of yours.
How so?
Because you just were like not even looking at anything. You were just rambling that entire monologue off the cuff.
I've said it so many times at this point. Like,
That's true.
I used to have it written down, and then I was like, I've said it 50 times. I know it by now.
Right.
So it's there. Although I think I usually say theater nerds. I think I say theater nerds, and I choked today, and I said theater fans.
Uh-oh.
So apologies, everybody. Sometimes that do happen. But David, we're here to do some fun Tony predictions. This is going to be our second to last Tony prediction episode because even though the season is coming to a close, because April is so jam-packed, we're recording this on Friday, April 19th?
Yes.
Today's the 19th, yeah. So the day that Stereophonic is opening. And after today, Hell's Kitchen opens tomorrow, Cabaret the next day, Heart of Rock and Roll after that, Mary Jane, Mother Play, Great Gatsby, and
Illinois,
yes. Wait, hon. No, because Mother Play and Gatsby both open next Thursday. Illinois opens on a Wednesday, but another thing opens on... Oh, Uncle Vanya. They both open on that Wednesday,
right?
I believe, yeah.
And something else might come in. Who knows?
At this point, yeah. Here we are. It's going to come in right in on Tuesday.
I would love that.
They're going to go right into the Lyceum immediately.
Yeah, you want a plot twist? There you go.
Oh, all y'all wanted a twist? Bam.
I'd love that.
But so the only reason I bring that up is because even though reviews don't necessarily mean a show is going to get a slew of Tony nominations or not get a slew of Tony nominations, sometimes a show that people liked but are not sure if they're allowed to give it some Tony love, if the reviews are generally positive, they can go, oh, we've been given permission. So something like Mamma Mia or And Juliet, which are very silly shows, having majority positive reviews, Tony voters can be like, oh, we're allowed to give this some nominations, even though it's silly.
Right. Or if a show is maybe not that well liked in previews, but all of a sudden gets some like slam dunk reviews, it kind of puts that back in the limelight for Tony noms.
Like Water for Elephants, which very famously had a rough reception in its first half of previews. They did a whole lot of trimming. I saw it. I still was not the largest fan. I didn't dislike it, but they got maybe not across the board raves, but some very important positive reviews from certain critics, and that helps. And then SUFFS was just open last night, had a very respectful reception, so that definitely puts it in the making. And then, of course, a little show called Lempicka did not get great reviews, and so I think we'll be interested to see how that shapes up today. But so I say this because David and I are very well-informed people. We see a lot of things. We both have our fingers in the sauce. But, things will change between now and the next recording of predictions, and it's actually going to be a pretty packed final week because this will be coming out Thursday the 25th, the last day of eligibility. And I think before that episode is going to be a interview I do with the lighting designer of Spamalot and Gatsby, and then a few days after this one comes out, maybe like the following Sunday, is going to be our final prediction episode with a surprise guest that you'll find when it drops in your feed that day. But let's fuck that. Let's get
Patti LuPone.
It's Patti LuPone. Let's get into it. David, let's find a category and let's just start doing shit.
Whew. Okay, so how do you want to go about doing this? Should we pick like one at random? Should we start big, start small? What do you think? Well, they're not, none of them are small, let's be clear. But maybe the ones that'll be earlier in the ceremony.
There are no small categories, only small nominations.
But there you go. There you go.
Yeah, no, let's go big with an attention-grabbing one, and then we can sort of move our way back from maybe categories that not everyone's always thinking about.
Sure. I mean, should we start at the top? Best musical?
Fine, why not? Let's go for it, yeah. Best musical, it's going to be 5 nominees, possibly 6 if there's, I think it's within 3 or 4 votes of the last 2 nominations. There can then be 6, but it will be a 5 minimum. That is a fact. And there's some belief, some QAnon conspiracy theories that because there aren't that many new musicals that everyone has been getting behind, there hasn't, even if there's a show that was well reviewed by critics, they don't always do well with audiences. So like Days of Wine and Roses and Here Lies Love are probably the most well reviewed new musicals this season, and audiences did not go. So that, we don't have, the critics loved it, audiences loved it. The only thing we have with that with musicals is Merrily, but that's revival, so we'll get into that.
Right. But I'd even add like a third dimension of stuff that grosses well, right? Stuff that like has good financials. Because I'm not going to say which show it is, but it's based off of a movie from the 1980s where audiences, at least theater people, didn't necessarily love it. Critics didn't love it, but it's grossing fairly well, and so there's this kind of added element there. Yeah,
it's grossing. It looks like it's grossing well. It's a very expensive show to run,
right?
And from what I have been told from production standpoint, is that they've had some very good grosses the last couple of weeks. The grosses they've had for like the last 3 weeks are the grosses they thought they were going to have throughout all of January, February, March, and that was not the case.
Right.
But yes, I know everyone knows what show you're talking about. But yeah, let's get into
Harmony.
Yeah, it's Harmony. Let's pick 5 musicals that we can see getting nominations and why.
Do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, you start. Give me your 5.
So I would go with The Outsiders, The Notebook, Water for Elephants, Illinois, and SUFFS. Those are my 5.
I have the exact same 5.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So the ones
Twinsies.
Oh my god, Twinsies. I think that, this is an interesting year. I feel like for the first time since probably the Dear Evan Hansen year, there's not a clear front runner for Best Musical. Unless I'm forgetting something in there. You would know better than I do.
No, that's about right.
Right. And I think that they're all pretty much somewhat on the same plane. I think the ones that I have difficulty leaving out, specifically Days of Wine and Roses, is kind of like the 6th, where I'm like, it could sneak in and honestly pick off any one of those 5.
I feel that way about Here Lies Love because, well, and I only say this because I know that Here Lies Love has love in the community. It was well liked. It just, people didn't go. Days of Wine and Roses, I don't know what you heard, but I definitely was not always getting the best feedback from people on Broadway who saw it. Everyone agreed that Kelly and Brian were incredible, and there was maybe more love for the score than not, but the show as a whole people were kind of cold towards. So it could happen. I think it's sort of if there are enough nominators who respect it, it could happen. I agree with you. I've got 3 shows sort of as outliers that could maybe happen, and they are Days of Wine and Roses, Here Lies Love, and the third is, honestly, and maybe I'm biased, but Heart of Rock and Roll. And I only say this because we'll see what happens Monday when it opens, what the reviews are like. But I mean, I've mentioned it on the podcast, I mentioned it on social, but a lot of word of mouth from previews has been people being pleasantly surprised by how quality it is. Like, not Days of Wine and Roses deep, but for being a campy show, like, they do it well.
Right.
And that could happen. But I let's be honest, that's me, sniffing paint and calling it, a prediction.
Well, and the show, it's no secret that it's not financially doing that well. So there is a world where nominators say, hey, the show, really isn't that bad, and we want to kind of give it a leg up, and so let's give it a nomination if that might help it financially versus other shows that may not need the help.
Yeah, it's also, it would be the fun nomination. Like, there's usually a show in Best Musical that gets nominated that's the fun show.
Days of Wine and Roses, yeah.
Exactly. But, last year, and Juliet, I would say 6th, the year before that. Beetlejuice, SpongeBob. I mean, I guess you could say Come From Away was sort of like the fun
Groundhog
show.
Day.
Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day was fun for me, but not everyone else.
It's because Andy Carl, yeah.
Yeah, and also, that 9-part turntable. But sometimes, people sometimes like to have variety in the Best Musical lineup. They'll try to have it be as spread out as possible. And I do think of the 5 we've mentioned, I hate to say it, but I do think Notebook is probably the most vulnerable. People want to say Illinois because it's coming so late and it's not a traditional musical, but Illinois does have a lot of heat behind it. It's, when it opens, it will have the best reviews of all the new musicals that are currently running. Yeah, I don't know. I think Notebook is vulnerable, and Days of Wine and Roses could get in there, or Here Lies Love, or Heart of Rock and Roll, or our 5 is exactly what it's going to be. Because sometimes that just happens where like it's so obvious that people go, but what if? And then the obvious ends up being what happens.
Yeah. Well, so the one that also I'm curious your thoughts on, and I wouldn't write it off just yet, is Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you see it?
I did see it. Yeah. I saw the invited dress. So, caveat, they're still tightening up the show. It was their first time running through it at the Schubert. And so like, there's a chance though that it's a big show. I think Alicia Keys obviously, is a big star.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I think they nominate things because they're like, oh, we want this person to go to the Tonys or the Tony ceremony, right? I don't really think they think like that, but I think, she can't get nominated for Best Score because it's not a score written for the show. So her way of going to the Tonys would be through as a producer on the show. She'll still be invited no matter what.
Yeah,
but,
well, I think the producers, if they don't get a Best Musical nomination, will still pay for a performance and have her, sing on it like Sarah Bareilles sang.
Yeah.
That could happen. I have been very vocal on this podcast. I did not like Hell's Kitchen when I saw it. I think that book is objectively bad in a way that really just sort of undercuts all the good things about it, because there are good things about it. I think we've got 3 great central performances by those women, and we'll talk about that when we get to performance nominations. I think that it has a lot of really good choreography. I think half of that choreography shouldn't be happening when it's happening, which isn't to say that it's not done well, but the funeral scene, and you're like, why are you dancing right now? It's a fucking funeral. The statutory rape plot line is just kill it with fire, and so much narration that makes you want to just jump into the lake. And I'll be interested to see, because the reviews downtown were sort of mixed, and from everything I can tell, they didn't do many changes. They made some trims, but plot wise it's the same, and I think that might infuriate some critics of like, what did you do? Because one of the things that SUFFS got with all of its reviews, even the reviews that were sort of mixed, like the Times, like the Post, and I think even, who was it? Maybe it was Vincentelli from like Chicago, or something. There was a third review where they all said, it's not perfect, it's not great, it is good. They said, but they all go, let me commend Shayna Taub for reading the reviews downtown and making significant changes, which I think they appreciated. So even the mixed reviews that SUFFS got, it's like, oh, you can get some pull quotes out of me by all means. Hell's Kitchen, it's like, oh, you didn't take any of our advice? Fuck you.
Right, but let's like again, it opens tomorrow, hypothetically, let's say Jesse Green, New York Times critics pick, oh my gosh, I loved it this time around. Yeah. Like, it could totally still have time to sneak in there if it gets like great reviews. I don't know if that'll happen, but if it does, I
think great reviews will help push the narrative of it being maybe not a front runner, but of it being a contender, because it's doing okay. It had a good first 2 weeks, and then this past week it went under a mill, as did Gatsby. But we'll see. I mean, because
it's a huge theater too.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes for. I mean, Tony nominators are not always influenced by shows that are doing well. If they don't think the show was any good, in fact, they get very resentful. All you have to do is look at Pretty Woman the musical, which got eviscerated, but was selling out nightly for like 6 months to 9 months, and then got 0 Tony nominations, and then closed like 5 months after that. Trying to think of other shows like Finding Neverland,
right?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
And it's interesting. I come about this from a producer perspective. I'm very numbers driven. I am like see dollar signs in my eyes sort of thing. And I think, what'd you say?
I said but of course.
Yeah, sure.
That's me saying but of course.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize they said Butter Toast, and I was like, that sounds good.
Butter Toast, that'll be my drag name.
Oh, there you go. But I do think, especially post pandemic, there has been a rally of, even if the show is not, as artistically fulfilling as we want, it is getting people back to the theater, right? And so I think in the one, I'm not going to say I don't think it'll get nominated, but I wouldn't count it out as Back to the Future.
Sure.
I think it's too competitive of a year to get in, and I'd be surprised if it does. But, I do think it is one of those shows where they put it on the Tonys broadcast and they say, hey, average American who accidentally has the TV on watching the Tony Awards, right? Like, this is a show you'd want to come and see and come back to the theater, come to Broadway. And I think, that's a post-pandemic argument, as the kind of general sentiment is Broadway is still recovering, right? Again, I agree with you that nominators are not like thinking like that necessarily, but there's certain things I wouldn't count out here.
Sure. I think I would maybe say that line of thinking would maybe go more towards Gatsby than Back to the Future, because Gatsby is also selling pretty well, and if it's not necessarily making a buttload of cash because it's just so expensive to run, people are going, and I think there might be a bit more appreciation for that than for Back to the Future, but either one could happen. I think what's going to happen is there are going to be a couple of precursors that are going to give Back to the Future some love, which will give people the thinking that it's going to happen. Like the Drama League, which nominates 20 musicals a year, and everyone's going to be like, we got a Drama League nomination for Distinguished Musical. It's like, yes, along with 17,000 other shows.
Right. Do you want to be my date to the Drama League Awards?
Hell yeah. I was there last year.
Yeah, I know. I saw you there. Do you want to do it? Do you want to be my date?
Let's do it. When are they this year?
May 17th. It's the Friday, mid-May, something like that.
Sure. Yeah. No. Let's go.
Great.
My May at the moment is very clear. So
you, and the creative team of Enemy of the People.
Phenomenal. I would love to meet Amy and tell her how much I love her work.
Unless she sits with Mary Jane, we'll see.
She might, but
she can do whatever she wants.
But also, yeah, what privilege to be like, oh my god, what table do I sit at? I got 2 shows on Broadway.
No, well, the story, and you know this story, but last year it was my first time at the Drama League Awards, and when I was filling out like the form for tickets, I wrote, I'm on the team for Parade, and there's shows have a lot of producers on them,
yeah.
But I guess no one else wrote that, and so I ended up at a table with the Jason Robert Brown, Alfred Urey, Alex Joseph Grayson, who was in the show. It was this and I was like, oh, hi, I'm a producer on the show, and I'm very overwhelmed right now.
Yeah, you needed to be more confident about that, because the moment you say, hi, I'm a producer of your show, they all would have just been...
Oh, and they were all very nice.
They would have licked your cheek.
Yeah, then I had 4 glasses of wine in me, and everyone was like, when I'm at Audra, and I was like, oh, shut up.
Right,
yeah.
that Audra vid, my God. I've talked about it on this podcast last year, where you watched a bit happen, it was cute, and then it died very quickly, and then it just kept getting kicked. Then it got funny for a second when Will Swenson did it, and then people kept doing it, just died. Anyway, right. But that was a fun day.
Anyways,
right, so those are our 5. We love it. Let me go to some technical categories for plays.
Oh, you're really going 180 now.
Yeah, okay. Let's do it. Let's do sound design of a play, baby.
Great.
I'm gonna do my 5. I'm going to say Stereophonic, very easy, and in my opinion, gonna win. I would say Patriots. I would say Enemy of the People, probably. Sorry, where am I at? Enemy of the People, Patriots, Stereophonic. I'm gonna say Appropriate, and then maybe Prayer for the French Republic. Although I would love to see... I've not seen Mary Jane or Mother play yet. I see Mother play this coming Sunday and Mary Jane next Tuesday, which I believe is actually their opening night. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened to me.
Friends with Rachel.
Yes. Rachel, we are besties. She heard how much I loved her in Are You There, God It's Me, Margaret, and she invited me. What about you? Give me your 5.
I'm not too familiar with this category. I think especially sound design of a play is a very interesting one, because it's kind of a crapshoot. I think you're right about Stereophonic. I mean, that show has some pretty incredible sound design. And
half of that show is about the sound.
Right. And so, I mean, I imagine it's going to win that. Yes. I think I would also, you said Stereophonic, Prayer for the French Republic, Appropriate, Enemy of the People, and Patriots. I've not seen Patriots yet. So
Patriots is pretty soundy. I will say that.
Yeah. I would maybe an Enemy of the People, again, bias, love the show. It's not a big sound design show.
No, but I think because the way they incorporate music is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Because I was going to say Pearly Victorious.
Possible. The thing about Pearly Victorious was that, from what I could tell, there were no body mics and no real sound effects. But they do use some music from time to time, because if you're not using sound effects, then it's about how the music is incorporated and how well you can hear everybody. And I will say, for Enemy of the People, even though it doesn't sound like anyone's mic'd, you can hear every word from every seat of that theater. So that obviously there is something going on with the sound design there that's helpful. That is, and Appropriate does actually have some sound effects that they use every time they look at the pictures and they do the effect. Right. Did you see Appropriate?
Yeah. You're talking about the very final moment of the show?
No, any there are certain moments in Appropriate where there's a lighting and sound bit, and it happens usually when people open the folder to look at their grandfather's photos.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were, because even the very end of that show, right, the final like sequence has some like really cool technical elements.
That final sequence is what's going to get them a set design nomination.
Right. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Another one, I did see Mary Jane this past Tuesday, and it does have some really interesting sound or just design elements at large.
Yeah.
You know, I think that'll be one. We're going to have to see how the kind of reviews come in for it, because it's been kind of flying under the radar, surprisingly.
It has.
And so if the reviews come in and they're like, this is the best play ever, we love it, then like, yeah, I can see Mary Jane getting in for a lot. If it kind of comes in being like, it's good, or, you know, it's fine, then I don't know if it'll sneak in. The other one I think is interesting, I didn't see it, but Grey House, which I heard was a very design heavy show.
Yeah, I have Grey House in for set design and possibly lighting design. And there is a lot of sound design in that show as well. That was such a polarizing production for so many people and was so long ago. So I'll be interested to see what people think. But I was talking about this with someone the other day. I just think this is also going to be a year we're going to see a lot of love spread out with nominations. I don't think we're going to see many shows with double-digit noms, if any. And, you know, you'll see one show get 3 and another show get 4 and things like that. So, I mean, if Grey House gets a lighting, set, and sound design nomination, that's great. That means there are going to be some plays that were like so close to 8 or 9 nominations and now have to settle for like 5, 6.
Right.
But yeah, I could see that happening. Lighting design of a play. Do you want to give me your 5?
Gosh.
I know.
So I'm going to say here, I might have to defer to you on Patriots, because it looks very lighty.
Yeah, Patriots is very designy. The only design I don't think they'll get is costume.
Okay, because it's pretty like modern, right?
Yeah, it's 80s, 90s, early 2000s.
Right. I will say then for lighting, Enemy of the People, appropriate. Go with Patriots. Prayer for the French Republic and Stereophonic.
Yeah.
Maybe would swap out Prayer for the French Republic with Pearly Victorious, but it's kind of where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah. I'm putting in Stereophonic. The lighting design is exceptional. When it begins, like when you go see Stereophonic after all these things I'm saying, the first 20 minutes you'd be like, what's Matt talking about? It's just a bunch of, you know, yellow lights in a sound studio. The way they go back and forth between the recording booth and the studio and the way they do certain transitions, it's very intentional and it's very theatrical and it's beautiful. So that's I think that's happening. I do think appropriate will happen. Prayer for the French Republic is very...
It had a lot of lighting moments in it.
Yeah. I'm going to say Patriots first. So I'm going to say Stereophonic, Patriots, appropriate. I could see Enemy of the People getting a lighting design nomination. I could see Pearly, or I could see Grey House, honestly. And Vanya, for me right now, is just very much a blank slate, because as much as I want it to be incredible, the word of mouth has not been strong. It started poor and has now gotten to sort of middling. So clearly it's improving, but no one is blown away by it. And that's very upsetting to me. But no one's talking about the design at all. So I guess I'm going to have to put that one aside. So what did I say? I said for my 5. I said Stereophonic, Patriots, Prayer for the French Republic, appropriate, Enemy of the People. That'll be my 5.
Yeah.
There's no like real impressive lighting in Mary Jane.
That's what I was going to say, is there is some impressive lighting in the show. It's pretty standard. I think if anything, it's got a more impressive scenic design. And so I think it's just not a very technical show, right?
Could that be a surprise set design nomination?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. I think that is it. I won't give it away, but it has a very cool reveal that I don't think people anticipate. And it uses that space very well, because that's a hard theater to design for too, because that mezzanine is so high. Like design for both the orchestra and the mezzanine is really tricky. And
it's not a very wide stage, but it's a pretty deep stage for how not wide it is. Or say for how thin the stage is, it actually goes relatively deep. So it is a weird space to design.
What they say about me.
Oh, I will punch you in the face.
I mean, you kind of walked into that one.
That's what they say about you too.
Yeah. No. There you go.
Every time we go to the Drama League benefit, everyone sees David and they go, "Oh, you just walked right into that one."
That's showbiz, kid.
Best Roxy Hart. Okay, costume design of a play. I will say Enemy of the People, Stereophonic, Prayer for the French Republic, Pearly Victorious, and The Cottage. Which I would love it if Jaja's African hair braiding got in there. I don't know if it will. And if it do, I think it'll replace Prayer for the French Republic. But yeah, that's my 5.
Yeah, I think Stereophonic has some really great costume design in it. Like you really get a sense of the time period, and even the characterizations, like I think is really, really well done. I think Pearly Victorious also had some pretty incredible costumes.
Period design is always a big get for
Right.
for Tony nominators, and Stereophonic is definitely the most modern of the shows we're talking about, but it is very period appropriate, and everything they give Sarah Pigeon to wear is just fire.
I know. Oh my gosh. In that first scene, I was like, I'm
Truly.
very gay, but she looks so good.
She looks good.
They all look great. They all look great.
No, it's a phenomenal design.
But I would say, yeah. So I think, where is it? Stereophonic, Pearly Victorious.
I said also The Cottage.
The Cottage, I didn't see that show, so I'm going to defer to you.
But it's 1920s, 1930s, very and very elaborate with the design, I will say.
And you don't think Grey House?
There's the costume design for Grey House is not something
Okay.
that people will remember.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Enemy, I'll throw in there.
She's period.
Yeah, she is. Prayer for the French Republic, sure. I mean, this really isn't that, costumey of a season. Like, we could give the nun outfits in Doubt, a costume nom. We could be like, hey, I mean, what is it? Liv Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber, yeah.
I mean, he looks good. So
Sure.
give him a costume, not him. Give the costume designer a nod for that show. He looks great. But yeah, I'll agree with your 5 there. Again, nothing
Actually,
crazy.
let me rephrase that. So I will say Enemy of the People, Stereophonic, The Cottage, Pearly Victorious, and Jaja's African Hair Braiding. Those would be my 5. Okay, scenic design of a play. You want to take this one?
Yes, I'm going to say appropriate.
Okay.
You said Grey House, so I feel like Grey House.
I did say Grey House.
I'm just going in order here. So
Yeah.
appropriate, Grey House. Did you Stereophonic? I'll throw in there.
Yeah, it is such a detailed, realistic set that I can't. It could not get in because it's not super theatrical avant-garde, but it is so down to the detail that
Right.
I'm sure people will be like, that's impressive.
And it's so well used.
So
Like it's
well
one of those
used.
things where it's like, hey, how every element of that set plays into the plot and plays into the overall story is so smart. But I said, okay, appropriate, Grey House, Stereophonic. Cottage. Maybe?
Yeah, the thing about The Cottage is it was a very beautiful design.
Right.
For me, it was not helpful for farce, which is what that play was trying to say. The play, from what I understand, the play as written is not supposed to be a farce. It's supposed to be sort of an homage / spoof of Noel Cowardly plays. But then Jason Alexander took it. He was like, it's going to be like Noises Off, but there were 2 doors. And so not a lot of that stuff. But it was a very beautiful house.
Right. And The Shark is Broken. I didn't see that one either. Does that one have a set, or am I just kind of like misremembering that?
Shark is Broken had nothing. But
Okay.
you can nominate set design for Colin Donnell's abs. But
There you go.
I would actually put in Patriots, I think, for design here.
Okay.
Yeah. So appropriate, Grey House, Patriots, Stereophonic, and then maybe The Cottage or Mary Jane.
Or I even want, bias here, An Enemy of the People. Like I thought they,
Listen, we've talked about this. I loved pretty much everything about Enemy of the People. It is a set design that, because it is so sparse, it'll be easy for some lesser people to look at it and be like, that wasn't a set. I'm like, no, it was a very specific set and was very well used,
Right.
and gave you just enough of the world that you knew where you were at without making it, having to live in such realism.
right. Did Once on This Island get a set nom?
I don't think
Do you
it
know?
did. I think they got nominated for revival, actress, and direction, and that was it.
They didn't even get like costumes or light or anything? They might have.
They might have. That was a year where
'Cause the band's visit was like, give it everything, give it best play.
Yeah, Band's Visit swept. So I think if we're talking set, I think set was SpongeBob, Band's Visit, Carousel. Was Carousel nominated for set design? Carousel was nominated for so many awards that I
Was My Fair Lady was that year too?
It
That one
was.
definitely got a set nom.
Yes, and SpongeBob was what won. So maybe once was nominated. I can't remember. It's been a minute.
Right. I guess that's me asking if shows that have been in Circle in the Square have gotten, because they can get lighting design.
Oh, I think
it's fair.
Warpaint. No, Warpaint was the year before. Never mind.
Right.
Because remember Warpaint got like 2 design nominations that blew my mind, but that was the year before. Never mind. You were saying.
Right. No, because I do think Enemy's set is really impressive. again, I hear your point. Like whether or not they'll be like, oh, it's a show in the round, therefore it's not eligible for set or whatever is a different, topic.
But Fun Home also got nominated for set design. So the Tonys are so weird because sometimes they will recognize that just because it's not elaborate doesn't mean it isn't great.
Right.
And like I'll remember it to the day I die. The year that once won scenic design for a musical, and I was like, good for you, because yes, it's deceptively simple, but it is so perfect for the show they're doing. They use it incredibly. It has certain surprises to its design, even though it's not like a million set pieces. And there were people who didn't understand how it won. And I was like, there were enough smart people that year who voted.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's a good point that you make a lot, which is best does not equal most, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some very minimalist set designs that work so well because they are not flashy, because they are just utilized so well. They make a statement about the show. Same thing for costume designs, where like, I know this is a hill that you probably, I don't know if you'll die on it, but you're definitely on this hill, is the Kimberly Akimbo costume designs, which are like, oh, these are so, they're very simple, but they reflect the characters so well.
And the era.
Yes.
It's something that a lot of people talk about, not just me. If you watch any YouTuber talk about the Oscars, and they'll always go on about how Oscar nominators have such a bias towards period films for costume design, they can't understand how modern day costume design works. Right. It's very rare that they get nominated. And it's the same thing with the Tonys. They never nominate a design that's, contemporary, because they're like, what are you talking about? There are no corsets, there are no bustles. It's
right.
like,
no bustles.
Yeah.
I mean, depends on who you cast.
Boom. Sound design musical.
Okay, so we're sticking with the technical ones. Sound design musical. Okay. Whew. This is where I can definitely see a world where Back to the Future starts getting, some recognition.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to say Back to the Future. I'm going to say Cabaret.
Okay.
I'm going to say Tommy.
I'm going to put a hat in for Outsiders.
Outsiders. I was also going to say Water for Elephants.
Maybe. So I think the ones that definitely have sound design that you can recognize where you're like, oh, that's a sound design. For me, that's Outsiders and Back to the Future. The way that, Back to the Future does the whole time travel and things like that. Where it starts to get trickier for me is when you can see a show and you get the full sound of the orchestra, but also you get every lyric. And for me, that's Merrily. I think Merrily sound design is actually very well done.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Cabaret yet, but I do hear that the sound design for that is quite good. I also would like to throw my hat in the ring for Here Lies Love, which was I can see a world where Here Lies Love, even if it doesn't get a musical nomination or a score nomination, could sort of go down the line with design nominations as a way to sort of pay homage to it. Illinois, from what I understand, has a good sound design. I think Tommy's sound design was just very loud, and that might rub some people the wrong way.
Right.
But again, we live in a world where Sweeney Todd won sound design, so anything's possible.
Yeah, I missed Merrily. I definitely think Merrily will get in. I think especially that overture to Merrily is like so, maybe it was just the night that I saw it, but everyone was so excited, and that overture just like filled the entire room. And I feel like, again, first impression, that's what you have. It's really well designed.
Yeah.
But
and hot take, spoiler alert, we'll talk about it later, but I also put Merrily in for orchestrations for that alone, because Merrily actually had, I think, one fewer musician in the pit than Funny Girl, and it sounded twice as full.
So it is eligible for orchestration.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a totally reorchestrated score.
Hot.
Well, also because I don't think that that wouldn't matter, but I was going to say because it's the original wasn't eligible for orchestrations because the category didn't exist, but that doesn't matter because Bartlett's Share revivals never get orchestration nominations because they just use the OG. But no, it's a new, same orchestrator, new orchestration. But yeah, so we're saying Back to the Future. We're gonna sort of take a whack and say Cabaret. We'll say Merrily We Roll Along. We'll say Outsiders, and then between Tommy and Water for Elephants.
Yeah, and I loved Tommy, so I feel like I'd go and say like, oh, I love, like, Tommy should get in there. It's also a very designy show.
It is.
Water for Elephants, though, is also a very designy show. And I feel like, when it comes to something like sound design, they kind of just think, well, I don't know how they think, but I would be like, well, what's the most designy show here?
Yeah.
And let's throw that one in.
Yeah, and I think the rock element of Tommy will be something that nominators will do. I think...
Or Here Lies Love could take that last. Did you say that one?
I did say that one, yeah. So that's an outlier, but yeah, we'll
see.
Yeah, we'll keep her guessing.
It's going to go to Sweeney Todd again.
Yeah, just
One more
to
time.
fuck with me.
Yeah, they're going to be like, one more. This year, we're actually going to re-nominate Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, just to get Matt Koplik to throw his second shoe at the stage.
Right.
Lighting design.
Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
Cabaret.
Mm-hmm.
Here Lies Love.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Water for Elephants.
Okay.
And that's just me. I've not thought about this one yet. So this is me just looking at the list being like, what am I thinking? Cabaret's lighting design. You have not seen Cabaret yet.
I have
right?
not.
Okay. Cabaret's lighting design, very well done.
Yeah.
Very impressive. I wonder if they're going to consider, the pre-show lighting design as well, because they kind of, the way they redid the theater, the lobby is differently lit. The atmosphere is different. I imagine it's all one lighting designer. So I imagine it's all the same thing. But the way they transformed that space is really, really fascinating. And I would see it, honestly, as a front runner there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that once you enter the theater, you are now seeing the show. Even if it's a quote-unquote pre-show, you're seeing the show. So just the impressiveness of that is something that will be considered. I'm going to X Back to the Future. I'm going to say Cabaret. I'm going to say Merrily. I'm going to say Outsiders, Tommy, and either Water for Elephants or Gatsby. Gatsby will be an interesting one for me because I don't see it getting a lot of love. But I think, again, similar to Here Lies Love, design is where nominators could go for it because it is period. It is big. I don't love the design of Gatsby, but if I were to give, if you're like, Matt, gun to your head, what's like the one nomination you would give Gatsby and be able to sleep at night? I would say lighting design. And it's not just because I'm about to interview the lighting designer. I watched the show knowing I was going to be interviewing him and was like, please let this be good. So I have something to say. And I watched it. I was like, oh, it is good. So that's nice.
Right. Well, the one that I'm now looking at is The Notebook. That lighting design was so good for that show.
For a set, because I hated that set, the lighting design did a lot of heavy lifting for me.
Right. But even like Days of Wine and Roses, I mean, both Michael Greif, but like those had really good lighting design moments.
And another one with an ugly set. No, both of those were very beautiful lit shows. This is a harder category for me than scenic design and costume design, I will admit, because there aren't many people here that I don't like the work of.
Illinois also might have, I haven't seen it, but like might have amazing lighting.
It might.
We don't know.
I mean, Hell's Kitchen actually has pretty good lighting, I will admit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Once Upon a One More Time might be like the only one here where I just went, nope. And I haven't seen The Wiz yet, but I know a lot of people I know were very disappointed with that design in general.
Yeah. But even, something like SUFFS where I thought the lighting design worked, it's nothing, revolutionary or groundbreaking.
No,
and so I don't think it would get in for that category. Even though I think it's very well done. It works well for the show.
It works, but it's not. I think if the design of SUFFS, the scenic and lighting design, were both like 20% more, not elaborate, but just, I don't know, if there was a little 20% more oomph to it, I actually think that would help the show, because as it stands, it's up to the performers and the material to kind of sell it, because the design just sort of, it doesn't get in the way, but it also doesn't help it. It's just sort of there, which is not something you ever want to say about a set design or costume design or lighting design. Right. Costume design, I think they have a nomination for, and I think the costumes are quite good in that. Moving on from lighting design, we'll do the last two design nominations and then we'll take a break and move on to the ones that people really want to hear. Costume design of a musical. I'm going to say Cabaret. I'm going to say Merrily, SUFFS, Great Gatsby, and Water for Elephants. Those are my 5.
I'm going to say, I'm going to throw Back to the Future in there.
Okay.
Cabaret. I'm coming across as like some Back to the Future stan on this podcast, which, to be clear, I did see the show right after I got through a breakup. So that was good timing.
It helped you.
Yes. Anyways, costume design for a musical. Back to the Future, Cabaret, SUFFS. Did you say Outsiders or no?
I didn't.
No. Yeah. Water for Elephants. And my gut wants to say Tommy, but
I hope not.
But I also could see them being like, oh, Spam-A-Lot. Let's give Spam-A-Lot a costume design nomination.
Those costumes are basically from the original.
Right. But like still, if you're thinking about it, like which ones are the costumey-ish shows?
Here's the thing why I mentioned Merrily. It's the same thing for me as Stereophonic, which is that, first of all, I hate the set design of Merrily. I understand why it's there and it does its job fine, but it's an ugly design and I think it creates some bad sightlines. and doesn't help you at all in terms of the time travel. I think that the costumes of that show do a lot of heavy lifting to let you know exactly what era we're in. Same thing with the lighting design, but it also could be that the Merrily costumes, there aren't enough of elaborate costumes to get people's attention. Back to the Future, I'm just sort of iffy on because, again, similar to Spamalot, it's just a recreation of the original. And so that kind of makes me go, I don't know if you did a good job getting that puffy jacket vest of Marty's down, but I don't consider it to be an inventive design.
Right. The one I think that is the front runner here is Cabaret, because the Cabaret costumes are very well done and they're very impressive and they fit the kind of statement that they're making at any one given moment really, really well.
I mean, my hot take is, without even having seen it yet, without the reviews having come out, I do think Cabaret will just sweep all the design categories when the awards happen. Just the sheer scale of what they do in that production, you can't deny.
Right.
But I mean, like, I think Here Lies Love could sneak in there. I think that, Water for Elephants, I think the design of Water for Elephants has come under scrutiny by some people because they think they said they wanted more spectacle. And I'm going, this is about a circus in the 1930s. It's the Great Depression, and circuses have never really been about spectacle. They've been about stunts. There's a lot of glitter everywhere, but you don't, like, you never go to a circus and you go, oh my God, that set piece.
Right.
It seems spectacular because you're in a large space and there's an elephant in front of you.
Right.
But yeah, there's no turntable at a circus.
Right. So I don't want to break this news to you, but that's not a real elephant in the show.
Thank God, because it
is a puppet.
Thank you. I had worries about animal cruelty.
You were like, where are they keeping that elephant? Well, that's an interesting question about like live animals in Broadway shows. Like, what has been the craziest live animal? Because what's on this island had a goat, I believe.
They sure did.
I'm trying to think. There's definitely been dogs before. Probably cats, rats.
Lambs and gypsy. You have to go back to the 20s and 30s and look up all the shit that they put on stage. There was a musical version of Gone with the Wind that originated in Japan, then opened in London, and then came to California before trying to go to Broadway. It never happened, but that version of it, during the burning of Atlanta, they had a real horse on stage, and apparently on opening night in London, the horse stopped dead in its tracks in the middle of the stage and took a huge dump.
Oh,
and the audience applauded.
There you go. It's a low bar nowadays.
They were like, "Oh my God, finally drama on stage!"
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did not know there was a musical version of that.
I mean,
Maybe
yes.
there's a reason
And then
why.
they tried to do another one in London many years later, directed by Trevor Nunn, and it also did not do well. So, Cabaret.
Sorry, I'm getting so off track here.
Cabaret. SUFFS. Those are two locks, we think. I'm gonna put in Gatsby. And then I'm gonna put in Water for Elephants, and then sure, Tommy could get in there. I would like to maybe lean a little more towards Merrily or Here Lies Love, if we're gonna do that. Even Harmony, which I thought had some very nice period appropriate costumes. But yeah, Tommy, for me, the aesthetic of that production really turned me off. I did not find it to be an aesthetically pleasing show. The set was impressive in terms of how the projections were incorporated, but just when everything's black, white, and yellow, all I'm thinking of is, Piss Night at the Eagle.
And you're thinking about that a lot.
I'm thinking about that every day anyway. I'm thinking about that at church.
Right.
But
every night's Piss Night at the Eagle when you're with Matt Koplik.
Absolutely. But I go to the theater to escape, so to see that confronted to me in Tommy, I was like, how dare you?
I do think it was a jarring design, and my take was it's jarring purposefully, right? Like it's not supposed to be, oh, this is so pleasing to the eye and it's so nice to look at. I think that it,
No, for me, it wasn't that it was jarring. It was that I just thought it was ugly. And it's the design that Des wants, and so he got what he wanted. I'm just saying, I watched it. I was like, I don't like this, especially when you take into consideration the original production. And with revivals, you don't want to compare to the original unless something's not working for you, and you go, well, what made this work the first time? And if you watch the original production, the design of that is nothing but color. It's very art pop, and for me, that actually helps the story because it makes it seem more outlandish and spectacular. And then when you make it like very sleek and self-serious, then you got people being like, wait, I'm sorry, what's happening right now? He lost his sight and his hearing because he watched his dad shoot someone, and now he's getting fondled by his uncle.
Right.
I'm like, is this an episode of All My Children?
I don't get the reference. But
just All My Children. It's a soap opera. Crazy things happen on soap operas.
That's true. And in Tommy.
Scenic design, musicale.
Yes.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Your favorite musical.
Yeah, gosh. Back to the Future, Cabaret.
Here Lies Love. If you're gonna give an immersive nomination to Cabaret, you have to give one for Here Lies Love.
Well, the level of immersiveness with Cabaret versus the level of immersiveness of Here Lies Love is very different.
Sure.
Because Here Lies Love was like you're in a theater, and then when you enter the club space, you're immersed. Cabaret is like before you even enter, they want you to be immersed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Back to the Future, Cabaret. Yeah, sure. I'll throw Here Lies Love in there. I haven't seen Gatsby yet.
I don't love the design of Gatsby, but it is big, and there's usually one big show that gets nominated like that. And then also Water for Elephants, I think, is a very clever design. Those would be my 5.
I think Tommy, because the one I was debating was Gatsby or Tommy.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Okay, if I'm debating between the two, I would probably go for Tommy. They're both actually kind of heavy on projections. I think Tommy uses projections a little better, but I like. It's so weird because I think Tommy, it's like, Tommy is a better use of its set, but I like the aesthetic of Gatsby more. So both of them for me are like a gentleman 6.5. So I don't know which one I'm going with.
Right. I would think, even less of like, what do I think I would want, or what would I vote for?
Yeah.
Rather like, what do I think nominators will sit around and be like, which one is more likely to be nominated? I would think Tommy because of the projections and the use of projections. Which one I was looking at.
And Tommy's the more well-liked show at the moment, so.
Right. And another one, if they love Merrily, if this is like a Merrily fest during the nominations, like I can see a world where Merrily gets in for all the design categories.
It's possible. That happens sometimes when a show is just sort of like the big dick hit of the season and they just like go hog wild on it. And it could happen. I don't know. I would prefer it if they didn't, but crazier things happen in this world.
Right. Still think it's Cabaret's to lose, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. All right. So those are all the design categories. Let us take a quick break, and then we will come back for some big titty-eared categories.
Billy, I beg to differ with you. How do you mean? You're the top. Yeah. You're an arrow collar. You're the top. You're a Coolidge dollar. You're the nimble tread of the feet of Fred.
And we're back. So, David, let's get to some bigger categories. What's a big one you want to do?
So we did Best Musical already.
We did, yes.
We can stick with the musicals. We can go to the plays. Let's do Best Play to even it out.
Sure.
And then we can decide what we want to do from there. Do you want me to give mine, or do you want to take yours?
Do it.
So Best Play, I think you got Stereophonic, Prayer for the French Republic, Patriots, Jajas. And the last spot, I'm going to give to Mary Jane. The one that I'm leaving out that I think is going to be in consideration is Mother Play. I saw Mother Play 2 weeks ago. I saw the second preview, so has probably changed a good bit since then, tightened up. I think it was definitely not my favorite show.
Yeah, Mother Play is a similar situation as Water for Elephants, where like the first week, all the responses were pretty uniformly negative. And then this past week and a half, the response has changed quite a bit. Not overwhelmingly positive, but more people liking it. And I do know that the first couple of previews, it was clocking in around 2 hours, something like that. I think it's closer to about, and now it's much closer to 90 minutes. So clearly there have been some cuts, been some changes. But yeah, I think that's definitely an outlier. And also, we don't know if they're going to consider Mary Jane original or revival. I have to believe it's going to be considered original.
Right.
It hasn't been around that long. And I don't think it's even, I don't know if it's available for licensing yet, but I don't think it falls under the classics rule just yet. I'm going to say Shark is Broken, The Cottage, Grey House, and I Need That, end of list.
And the sound design for Sweeney Todd.
And the sound design for Sweeney Todd.
For Best Play.
Yes. And the new casting for Sweeney Todd. So, no, I agree with you. I think that's the 5. I think it's Stereophonic, which is definitely the favorite to win. Prayer for the French Republic, Patriots, Jaja, and Mary Jane. Those are going to be the 5. And I think it's a nice diverse group. Patriots is the, British import that, did well over there, and it's considered esoteric. Prayer for the French Republic is good. I liked it a little more off Broadway, but it is a good play, and it has a lot of heavy themes to it. Jaja is also just fucking delightful. That play was such a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want them to remember it.
Yeah, I was concerned. I feel like going into this year, being like, or 2024, being like, oh, they're going to forget about Jaja's come Tony season. It was such a good play, but it was early on in the season. I I have a suspicion they're going to include it because I think it was a really, really well done play. I think, to be honest with you, if it was opening in April, I think it could have had a shot of winning.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it was earlier is not doing them any favors, but I do think it was a really, really well done play, and I don't see it being like the fifth slot that might get cut out sort of thing.
I mean, I think even if Jaja opened this spring, Stereophonic pretty much would have it in the bag. But I think Jaja, if it was playing right now, would give it a run for its money, and it would be a much more interesting story than just this thing is walking away with everything. It's here's this other one that we all really enjoyed. Play Revival, we got 5, which means I think it's going to be 3, and I think
unless Mary Jane goes in there,
and I think it's going to be Enemy of the People, Appropriate, and Pearly. Those are our 3.
Yeah, I mean, again, bias here, but I think those are. We'll have to see how Uncle Vanya reviews come in, how the kind of reception is there. Because if the reviews are exceptional, critics pick this is the best show we've ever seen, then I think we have a really tough category here.
Yeah.
I think if that's the case, we might even get 4 nominees here.
4 is definitely possible.
And I think Doubt got very good reviews. It was a well done show. I just feel like out of all of these, it was maybe the least innovative of them. And so I think it's definitely kind of going uphill. It's climbing uphill here.
Yeah. For me, Doubt was a case where people were mistaking the production for the play. Doubt is a very good play that was given an okay production. And I wanted to like it. Everyone knows how on board I was with Tyne Daly, and then that damn virus flu, whatever thing she got, took her out and became Amy Ryan, and I was rooting for Amy Ryan, and she was fine. But I was very unmoved by Doubt, and I think that if it gets in there, it's because of like a 3-vote difference.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think Enemy of the People, Appropriate, Pearly are definites, and everything else is just happy to be there. Musical Revival.
This is, I think, one of the toughest ones for me. I think that, there is a clear, if you hear this paper, beautiful listeners, we have papers in front of us that I happily made that have all of the possible nominees on them. So that's what we are shuffling through.
David did not come to fuck around. He came to play.
Good producing. So Best Musical Revival, I think you've got Merrily, Cabaret, Tommy. And then the last 3 that are here that could fill that 4th slot are Gutenberg, Spamalot, and The Wiz. I can see arguments for all 3. Gutenberg, I think, out of those 3 is probably the most well-liked. It was a really fun event. The 2 of them did really, really well. I think everyone pretty much went to that show. Even if they didn't love it, they were like, I had a good time. Yeah. Right?
And it recouped. That
helps. Yes. Spamalot, critics pick. I think critically it did very well.
Better than people expected, for
exactly.
Sure.
And then The Wiz, is currently running. It is a beloved show. It, hasn't been revived in a little bit, and people have always wanted that to be revived. The reviews were not bad for it. They weren't, exceptional, but they were not at all like, this is a terrible show. It's also selling super well.
It's selling incredibly well. I will say the reviews were much better than I expected because everyone I know who had seen it despised it. And basically everyone said the same thing, which is like, vocals are incredible. There's no acting going on. The design is cheap as hell, and there's no direction to be spoken of. And then the reviews came out, and they were not bad. They were better than the reviews for Lempicka or Once Upon a One More Time. They were probably on par with Notebook and Back to the Future, which were both shows had their dismissive reviews and both shows had their positives, and The Wiz kind of had both. Right. You read the New York Times review by Maya Phillips, and she doesn't love the revival, but she acknowledges that she didn't dislike the time she spent there. And I think that sort of gives Tony nominators a pass to go, yeah, let's nominate the one that's still running.
Yeah, and so again, Merrily, Cabaret, Tommy, and for that 4th slot, for the past 3 months I had Gutenberg, but I am going to switch it to The Wiz.
Same.
I think that show also means a lot to a lot of people. It's a beloved show. Again, it's running right now. I think they'll, again, I don't think they think like this, but I do think it's a maybe back of the mind thought. It'll be a lovely Tony performance to have, right? I think it will take that 4th slot.
Yeah. I mean, also, that score is just bonkers good. And so who doesn't want to watch them do Brand New Day or Ease on Down the Road or, So You Wanted to Meet the Wizard? Give me any of it. Into my veins. I love that music so much. Let's do...
Should we go to plays? Should we go to musicals? We could do the musical, like, book and score.
I was going to say, let's do book and score. So, score... I'm going to say Days of Wine and Roses, Stereophonic, SUFFS, The Outsiders, and The Notebook. Those are my 5.
Those are my 5.
Those are your 5 as well?
Yep. I
Fantastic.
think Days of Wine and Roses, this is definitely one that it could win. I think it's, climbing uphill for a few other categories. Days of Wine and Roses, we said Stereophonic, which I think, originally I feel like on your podcast, you were like, this is a hot opinion that like people might not agree with. Now I feel like it's pretty like, people think it's going to get in.
Yeah, everyone's like, how can this not? The songs are so good.
Right. I think SUFFS has a good score, very musical theater traditional, which I think will definitely help it. I think The Notebook has a really good score too. And The Outsiders, I feel like is that fifth slot.
Yeah.
Like I could see a world where The Outsiders is swapped out for Water for Elephants.
I mean, I could see a world where Stereophonic gets swapped out for Water for Elephants just by people being like, I don't want to nominate a play if there's a musical I can nominate. But we've done it before, and I think we can do it again.
What about Here Lies Love?
I would love it if that score got in. I think that score bops. But if it got in there, I think it would be in place of Notebook or Days of Wine and Roses, which is so weird to be like, I just said that this one is vulnerable for this one, but now this score is vulnerable for these 2 scores. But that's how chess works, baby.
Right. Well, and I also think Here Lies Love will be very interesting to see how it plays on nomination morning, right? I can see a world where it gets into Best Musical and Best Score, Best Book, Best Director, right? Or I can see a world where it just gets in for scenic or for technical noms.
This is because it is so crowded. There are 9,000 ways everything could go because while we have so many options, the truth is that a lot of the options we currently have, many of them aren't terribly great. And we actually had some solid, if not perfect, but solid shows in the winter that didn't make it. And it's like, well, do we honor what we thought was truly the better ones or do we honor what's around?
Right.
And nominators don't have as much recency bias as voters, but they do have a little bit. So I think we'll see some love for Here Lies Love. To what scale, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
But I don't see a world where it gets 0 on April 30th, but I don't see a world where it gets 10 either.
And the dark horse here though as well, and I think you know what I'm going to say.
Back to the Future?
No. no, it's not Back to the Future. It's Harmony.
Yeah.
Where I do think people were pleasantly surprised by that score. I don't think it trumps a lot of the other scores here, but I do think it is, it's Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
He's been working on the show for however many years, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't count it out. I would be surprised if it gets in, but I would not count it out just yet.
No, neither would I. I think that Harmony's best chances right now are in choreography, score, and actor in a musical, and we'll get to those other 2 in a second. I think that the score for Harmony is interesting. There's a lot of beautiful stuff going on there. It was, for me, in the watching of it, that didn't work for me, but if you listen to it, I'm sure there are many people who will be like, oh, we slept on this score. And that has worked for nominators in the past. Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown was a mess on stage, but that score was good. And when they recorded it after the show closed, and they gave it to Tony nominators like the month before they had to vote and put in their nominations, and they got a nomination for that. And I think that can work. I think that can work for Harmony's advantage for sure. My hot take is I think SUFFS has become our front runner for score, if nothing else. I don't mind that. There's other outside of honestly Stereophonic and the like 7 songs they have that just rock my world. There's no score here where I'm like, it must be you and only you, and anything else is a disaster. I'm like, no, I can see how any of these could win. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Pop off, sis. Book of a musical. So for you, Back to the Future.
Jeez. No, I think we're gonna have Days of Wine and Roses, SUFFS, The Notebook, The Outsiders, and Water for Elephants.
I'm going to say Outsiders, Water for Elephants, Notebook, SUFFS. Say those 4 for show. And I would love it if Heart of Rock and Roll got in there. It won't, but I think it's a better book than Days of Wine and Roses. I think Harmony is a better book than Days of Wine and Roses. Yeah. Fuck it. Days of Wine and Roses. There you go. There
Also,
it is.
I mean, Harmony could get in.
It could. That could be the lone. They won a Drama Desk Award
I just
for
wish
book.
we had a comedy here that we could be like, that was a funny book. Like, those were good jokes.
I thought there were some good jokes in Heart of Rock and Roll.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know.
She fun. A lot of jokes about how much marriage sucks. I'm like, yes, say more. Let's do a performance. Do you want to do a musical or a play?
Let's do a musical. Let's be fun.
Okay. Featured actress in a musical, because that might be the longest list we have here.
This is a big list. Okay,
Yeah.
so front runner here, and I will right now, I'm going to really be strong about this. BB Newirth, Cabaret.
You have me signing off on that.
That's number one.
Then Lindsay Mendez for Merrily.
Lindsay Mendez, Merrily. I'm also going to put in... She's not going to be number 3. There's someone in here that I'm missing.
The question for me is, I enjoyed Jordan Tyson in Notebook a bit more than Joy Woods, but Joy Woods has the song in Act 2. And so the question is, will nominators care? I don't know. I know that they are also promoting Joy far more than they are promoting Jordan in all of their marketing for that show.
Right.
So that could happen.
Yeah, this is why I originally had Marianne Plunkett, but then we moved her to lead.
Yes.
So we'll see.
So we'll see what ends up happening. My hot take is that Marianne Plunkett's going into leading. I know that the producers want to put her and Dorian into lead, and I think they'll succeed with that. If they don't, then Marianne goes into featured and she's winning.
Right. But so BB Newirth,
Lindsay.
I'm going to say Nikki M. James for SUFFS.
Sure.
And I'm going to then close out with Keisha Lewis, Hell's Kitchen.
Fuck yeah.
That's 4. Well, okay. 5th would be Marianne Plunkett if she gets in there. Otherwise, I can see Shosh getting in there for Hell's Kitchen. I can see Joy Woods for The Notebook. I can see Jen Colella for SUFFS. I think those 4, though, I feel pretty good with.
Yeah.
BB Newirth and Cabaret, when I tell you she steals that show.
Yeah.
But in a way that, yeah, you're like, yeah, okay, she's, that role's always stealing the show. It's like, no, Cabaret, that role to be the scene stealer in a show that's very flashy, very big, in a role that is meant to not be flashy and not to be big is incredible. I think that, honestly,
I had her, when they announced her and Steven Skybell in those roles, I was like, they are getting nominations yesterday.
Right.
And I was like, and BB's become the front runner. That's just, and now it's just become fact. She's doing the thing and everyone's agreeing. So I appreciate that. I want to give a quick shout out to Ali Bonino in SUFFS, who is actually my favorite of the gals in that show. She's not going to get nominated. It's too quiet of a role, but she is delightful in that show.
She might. I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah.
I think Nikki M. James I think she makes the most of what she has in that show.
The problem with Nikki M. James's role is that there are large chunks of time when she is not on stage, and you can feel it. And I think that as you said, when she comes on stage, she grabs her stage time by the throat because she's Nikki M. James, and it's also it's a very word's not confident, but a very determined part. When you come on stage with that energy, it makes sense for the role you're playing.
Right.
And Jen Colella is also a possibility. She opens the show. She has more stage time than Nikki. My issue is I feel like if Act 1, I found maybe Jen a little more memorable. Act 2, I found Nikki more memorable. She doesn't have as much stage time as Jen, but I also feel like they kind of dropped the ball with Jen's character by the end of the show, whereas Nikki gets to come on and have that great final scene with her character.
Right.
But yeah.
It's also the role that Nikki plays is a much more conflicted role.
Yeah.
Right. It is, and she does it very well. Right. Where it's this character who is, on the one hand, is very happy, but on the other hand, sees that there's still a long road ahead for her.
Yeah. When they get the right, or when white women get the right to vote, and she celebrates with her friends, and then she takes a moment, she goes, "It's not going to include us, though."
Right.
And and the way she does it, because I talked about this on this week's episode of the podcast when I reviewed SUFFS. One of my caveats about it is it can be rather pandering, and that is a moment where it could be pandering, but the way Nikki plays it doesn't feel like it. At least didn't feel that way to me.
Yeah.
I watched her do it and I was impressed because I was like, I can totally see another actress reading that line, and it's just in lights, see guys, we're aware, and blah, blah, blah. But no, she plays it so small and grounded, and so it made it more powerful to me.
Right.
So
And that character, they made such a good change with from the public. So I saw it at the public and obviously on Broadway, and they made that, to your point, they made it less of a this is an acknowledgement that we understand this history is complicated, so here's a character to kind of, check off any arguments, but they made it a real character on Broadway with a real, with real complicated feelings. And I think it's also, it's a political show, obviously, but by giving, Nikki M. James a nomination there, I think it will sort of also be a nod to the dynamics of the political nature of the show and different kind of things going on there. But
absolutely. And I know that there are people who are really wanting, Leslie Rodriguez-Kritzer for Spamalot to get in there. There are people who want Crystal Joy Brown or Katie Rose Clark. Many people want Julie Benko in there. I think that Leslie, has that shot of just being very well liked in a very showy role, but the show will have closed by that point. And also not everyone is a Spamalot fan. Harmony with Julie, I don't think the role was ever really big enough. The show has also closed. Crystal and Katie, for me, if they get nominated, it's in the sweep of the Merrily stuff, but I just did not find their performances to be as successful as Lindsay's. And I liked Lindsay. I actually preferred Lindsay's understudy. I've been very vocal about that, but I do think Lindsay is good. And I just think there's so many options here. Why would you fill up 3 out of the 5 slots with Merrily people when you can honor SUFFS, you can honor Amber Ramon and Limpika, you can honor Allison Luff and Tommy? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, and that's, again, if I was like the sole nominating committee, I would totally put Amber Ramon in there because I thought she was so good in that role.
I would put in Beth Level.
I would put Beth Level in everything. I'd put Beth Level in for best play.
I would put Beth Level in me, but my issue with Amber is that I enjoy her so immensely, and she's so talented, and she sings the fucking shit out of her stuff, and she's so compelling on stage, but it does feel like she's in a different show from Eden, and that's not an Amber problem. That's something that Rachel Chapkin needed to work on. But I see your point. I wouldn't be mad if she got nominated.
If she's not nominated this time around, she will be a future Tony nominee.
Oh, absolutely.
If not Tony winner soon.
Yeah. Absolutely. Keisha Lewis has to get nominated. For all of the issues I have with Hell's Kitchen, when she comes on stage, you are paying the fuck attention.
It honestly, when she went on stage, the audience woke up.
Yeah.
It was, that's not to say we were asleep, but she was in a different, she commands that stage, especially her dynamic with Malaya Joy Moon is so good. And I think that Keisha Lewis she just has such a commanding presence, and she gets the Act 1 finale in that show.
She sure did.
Which is, a big rousing number. And I think that is really going to set her up well. Because originally I had Shoshana in there, and Shoshana slays, as she always does. But I feel like the role for Keisha Lewis, it's, again, it's doing a lot more with a lot less.
Yeah. Shoshana is wonderful in the show. Shoshana tends to always be wonderful. Well, maybe not always. No one is always wonderful. We all have our slip-ups. But every time I have seen Shoshana, she has delivered. She delivers in this. The problem for me is that role is a bunch of contradictions that's really hard to get behind. Not in the way like a human being has contradictions, but in the way that like a character just changes on a dime for the sake of the scene. And then she's got like a big number in Act 2 that I know a lot of people love. I watched it being like, this should be cut. This song should... When she tells off Brandon Victor Dixon, I was laughing.
That's not maybe they changed it's because on Broadway it was like a number where he was like in an audition.
Yeah, and she walks in and she tells him off.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I thought she was telling off the other. I don't know.
No, she's telling off him. She's basically being like, "Don't ever come near us." And then like the following scene is him coming near them. She goes, "Okay, we'll come to dinner." She wasn't
serving enough food in that show, in my opinion. It was like,
I've never spoken about that once.
I know. I was so surprised because careful listeners will know that Matt talked about that specific thing after seeing it at the Public, and I didn't see it at the Public. But I was like, oh, he's so dramatic. Like, there's no way she's every single scene, serving or preparing food. Like, there's no way. And then I saw it, and sure enough, I was like, oh, there it is. And I was actually at the invited dress, and at one point at the beginning of the scene, she was like, oh, what scene is this? Oh, it's the carrots. Yeah, the carrots. And then and I was like, great. I mean, she's aware, so we love that.
Mother was serving.
Mother was serving.
All right. Let's do featured actress in a play.
Ooh, okay. I was expecting featured actor in a musical, but okay, featured actress in a play. This is going to be... Last year was my favorite race to watch because it was the closest, but this year it's also going to be my favorite race because I think it's going to be between Cara Young in Pearly Victorious and Sarah Pidgeon in Stereophonic. So I think those two are out front for me. I would put in Frances. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm so happy right now.
Why?
I love this category and I love everything.
Oh, wait, this is the mother of the categories.
I fucking love this category.
This is where we should honestly forego awards in other categories and just start giving it to everyone here.
Yeah.
I think so. Who did I say?
I said Sarah and you said Cara and then you just said Frances for prayer.
Yes. Okay. Because she has that huge monologue in Act 2.
Yeah. When she's like, I survived.
I'm also going to give it Celia Keenan Bolger for Mother Play.
Oh, okay.
She is so good at that. And then this last spot, I'm going to tell you who I want is Victoria Pedretti for Enemy of the People because I think she kills that role. And I think she's so good.
She's fantastic.
I don't know if she will get in. If she doesn't get in, I do think Juliana Canfield from Stereophonic is also very good.
Yes. First of all, I've said this before. I'll say it again. every single person in Stereophonic is just mopping the floor with the audience. So that aside, I'm going to say Sarah Pidgeon and Carrie Young for sure. I'm going to also say Natalie Gold for Appropriate. I'm going to say Victoria Pedretti for Enemy of the People. And my fifth slot is interesting. Here's the thing. So we're looking at these lists that David put together that he also, corroborated from Gold Derby, and they have Betsy Item down for featured actress in a play for Prayer for the French Republic. I'll be interested to see if they decide that Betsy actually goes into leading actress.
I hope she does.
I hope so,
because
too.
I think that gives her a better shot.
It absolutely does. And I think she is the female lead of that play.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely. It's just all focused around her in that way. I would say if she is put in featured, I think she will get nominated over Frances. Frances has that monologue, but Betsy just is that show. But I also wouldn't mind Julia Canfield. I would love a world where at least one of the Jaja gals got in there.
Yeah. Again,
it won't happen. I love Brittany in Jaja. She has this wonderful monologue about how she, left her country and left, her childhood love there, and also, her bad husband, but she's got a daughter there and she's going to bring her daughter to America. Dominique is wonderful in Jaja. They're all, Lakeisha, they're all fantastic. I would love one of them. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's one of those things. Same thing with like the men in Stereophonic, where they're all uniformly excellent. That in a weird way, none of them then stand out. Right.
Well, in a way where it's hard to, where you go like, well, which fucking one do I pick?
Exactly.
And if 45 nominators all, have like 5 guys from Stereophonic that they pick, and each guy from Stereophonic gets only like 4 or 5 nominations, or 4 or 5 votes, but someone, all these other dudes get like 7, then all the Stereophonic men get left out, and it's just because the wealth was spread so much by votes. But I do think at least one dude from Stereophonic will get in, and we'll get to that in a second. But I think, okay, so I'm going to say money on the table. I'm going to say Sarah Pidgeon. I'm going to say Victoria Pedretti. I'm going to say Carrie Young. I'm going to swing my dick out and put Betsy in lead later. So those 3. Your endorsement of Celia for a play you did not like very much has gotten me interested. So I'm going to say Celia. And then I'm going to say Natalie Gold. Those are my 5.
Yeah, my 5 are Sarah Pidgeon, Carrie Young, which I think is going to be the race of the night between those 2. I think it'd be so interesting.
Possibly. Also, I realized, everybody, that I've been doing my tongue pops that I got read for recently. So sorry about that. But
okay, let's start over. So Matt, it's so good. It's so good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, David.
So where was I? Okay, Carrie Young, Sarah Pidgeon. I'm gonna stick with Frances Benhamu. I'm so sorry. I'm mispronouncing that name.
Benhamu? I don't know.
Benhamu.
She's also, she's very endearing in that show. She's so sweet.
Those 3 so far. Celia Keenan-Bolger. I want to say Victoria Pedretti. I think it's going to be Natalie Gold. So
it could happen. I think that the way that Enemy is, it's so Jeremy that it's possible for everyone else to kind of get forgotten, and that's a shame. But listen.
I love her.
She's great. She's so good. Mother. She's auntie.
At the opening night party, maybe you'll cut this part out, maybe you won't, I don't know. But I got so drunk at that opening night party. Oh my gosh. And we were at an after party at some bar at like 3 a.m. And I was talking to her and I was like, Victoria, the gays love you. I was like, the gays love you. And she was like, oh, like very polite, being like, oh, thank you. Like, that's so nice. Like clearly being like, this drunk gay man is talking to me, like get away from me. But she's very lovely. And so I think, I'd love for her to get in there. But
she should get a nomination for the performance she gave you at that bar alone.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. All right, let's do featured actor in a musical.
Featured actor in a musical. So this one is also, I think, next to musical is one of the hardest ones for me, or best revival of musical, because this one, I think there's a very clear front runner in Daniel Radcliffe. The rest, I could literally put together 10 different combinations of 4 different people here.
Sure.
I think that, Cabaret.
Steven Skybell. My 3 locks are Daniel, Steven Skybell, and Paul Alexander Nolan for Water for Elephants. Those are my 3 locks.
Yes. Well, I know Paul Alexander Nolan. I think you spoke that one into existence, though. And I think he's very, very good in the show, but I feel like, you were the first to be like, he deserves a Tony. Now everybody is like, Paul Alexander Nolan needs to get nominated.
I have influence.
You do? You really do? Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm going to put Paul Alexander Nolan there. Steven Skybell, Daniel Radcliffe. And then the last 2, I I think are tricky. Again, I originally had Dorian Harewood, but we're going to say he's going to lead, so we'll come back to him.
I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say I would love Brent Comer for The Outsiders to get in. I think
so good in that. Yeah.
So good. I think it might be Joshua Boone. If it's both, fan-fucking-tastic. But I think Joshua Boone. I've heard that Ben Tyler Cook and Ricky Ubeda, I think that's his name. I heard that they are very much the prominent performers of Illinois, and one of them could get in. But also, I think Illinois might be sort of a Jaja situation where the nomination for the show is the nomination for the performers.
Sky Lakota Lynch for The Outsiders, also very good. I don't know if he'll get in, but he's very, very good in the show.
I mean, if we're going to pick between the two actors of color who die in the show, I'm going to go with Joshua Boone because actually
he gets that big number in Act 2.
I will say this. So a different friend of mine who votes for the Tonys texted me the other day because he's seeing everything, and he goes, "Have you realized that there are a lot of roles in shows this year that are white characters that they've recast with BIPOC actors, and those characters die?" I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I just found out at Hell's Kitchen that the Keisha Lewis character..."
Spoiler.
First, yes, she dies.
We already mentioned the funeral, but yeah.
Yeah, but also, first of all, that character is still alive in real life. So they gave her cancer.
Oh, shit.
I know,
okay.
Right? And is white. So...
Interesting.
Yeah. So Hell's Kitchen takes a lot of liberties with both Alicia Keys' life and also with Hell's Kitchen in the 90s in general and Manhattan Plaza, like making it seem like this kind of semi-ghetto space. I was like, that establishment has had a waiting list for residents for decades. And like Hell's Kitchen in 1997 was, filled with gays, and there's not a single gay character in Hell's Kitchen, so whatever. But he mentioned that. He was like both characters in The Outsiders. He said Dorian Harewood in The Notebook. There were a couple of other ones. He was like, he goes, it's just very odd that's sort of something that's kind of keeps happening with musicals this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyways,
it was just something where I was like, you're not wrong. And I don't think anyone's doing it intentionally, but similar to how the critic for Vulture, Sarah Holdren, got dragged by Michael R. Jackson for saying, hey, writers, maybe let's like put a pause on this trope that has happened 12 times this season. I was like, all she's saying is, everyone kind of had the same idea in the same season. And maybe we take a moment to go, maybe I go with my third idea because everyone seems to be going with my first.
Yeah.
So we don't have to comment on that. I just wanted to say that because if we don't say it, then someone else will in a much worse way. So let's just get it out in the kind way.
I will say, for the record, I liked Lempicka. I thought it was not a perfect show. I thought it was a good show.
You're entitled to that opinion.
Sure. And I'll say that the drinks that they made me at that bar for the show were very, very good.
They gave me doubles for Great Gatsby, and I appreciated that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you were like, I need it. You're like, do you have triples?
They said it has to be a double. Is that okay? And I said, oh, what show you're bartending?
Oh, interesting. I always, whenever I go get
I think because of the size of the cup, it has to
whenever I go to a drink at Broadway Theater, I always just like act all fun and flirty to see if they'll like give me a heavy pour. And most of the time they do. But
the dude gave me a pretty sizable pour. We were very nice. We were his fourth customers at the beginning of the night. And we were very nice and we were very quick. So I think he was good.
Yeah. Back to featured actor in musical. The one that we didn't mention that I do want to throw in there is Brandon Victor Dixon.
Okay.
I don't know if you mentioned him or not, but
I didn't.
But I think, again, his role, I was surprised when I saw Hell's Kitchen. He does not have that big of a role. His voice, without a doubt, could melt butter. I mean, he is so talented, and they do give him some very good songs. I think because this category, honestly, it's just there's so many people in here that you're just kind of like, I don't really know who would be in there, but I feel like he's also in the conversation.
I think he could sneak in. For me, it is similar to what you're saying. It's a category of so much, and he is given so little. He nails everything that he is given, but it is so little. And and for me, that is a show that's more about the women than about him. So I could see it happening. I would not be necessarily pleased, not because I don't love him, but because I think that there are better roles that we could acknowledge. There are people who are still trying to yell at me that, Hugh Coles and Roger Bart will both get in for Back to the Future. And
They will.
They will. The number one fan for Back to the Future will tell you so.
I love it. Also was drunk there.
Listen, if there's any show where I'm like, I will give it 2 featured actor nominations, it is for me, fucking Outsiders. I would even, I would give Chris Fitzgerald the nomination for Spamalot or Ethan Slater for Spamalot, either one of them.
Yeah. I mean, because I would be like, if Michael Urie was in featured actor for a musical, I would have totally put him in.
Do we know if he isn't?
We don't, but the role in 2005 was leading.
I think the difference between that is his role was played by David Hyde Pierce in 2005, and the sheer star power of David Hyde Pierce might have made that role seem larger than it was. But also, I don't fucking know.
I mean, because
it happens.
The only lead in Spamalot really should be the King Arthur to James Bond.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed. Because
Taron
Killam also in a role that first time around was put in the lead, but that was Hank Azaria. Taron Killam could go into featured actor. I don't know. The Tony Committee still hasn't given a ruling on anything post like November 10th, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, because I've been like checking it because we're also still waiting on enemy rulings. Right. We're not expecting.
You never got a ruling on Harmony. They never said.
Well, I don't think they're concerned about that.
But what I'm saying is like that's how far back we're talking.
Yeah. Well, the big ones are like appropriate. I think we all know it's going to be a revival, but
supposedly they've met. They just haven't released anything because it was leaked that appropriate's going into revival. But that's all that was leaked. So who knows what else is being considered and for what.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. And I think those are featured actors. We should probably move on.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's do
feature action and play.
Yes, I can. Okay, let's bang this one out. Actually, wait. Before we get to feature action and play, let's take one last break.
Really, I beg to differ with you. How do you mean? You're the top. Yeah. You're an arrow color. You're the top. You're a Coolidge dollar. You're the nimble tread of the feet of Fred Astaire.
And we're back. Featured actor and play. I will knock these out for myself. I'm gonna say. I'm going to say Corey Stoll for appropriate, Eli Gelb for stereophonic. I'm going to say Will Brill for stereophonic, Will Keane for Patriots, if he doesn't end up going into lead. And I will say if either somewhere between Tom Pacinka or for stereophonic or William Jackson Harper for Uncle Vanya. I know David is giving me such a cold shoulder right now. I think that there are a couple of outliers here. I think J.O. Sanders is a possibility for Pearly Victorious, and I think that Michael Imperioli is a possibility for Enemy of the People. But that is a big if for everyone, really.
Okay. We differ here. Interesting.
Okay.
I love this. I have Will Brill for stereophonic.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Stoll for appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen Patriots, but I've heard good things about Will Keane.
He's great.
Patriots. I have my boy, Michael Imperioli for Enemy of the People.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Jim Parsons for Mother Play.
Again, have not seen Mother Play.
It's a 3-person show, right?
Sure.
And so, in Jim Parsons, I think has in Celia Keenan Bolger, they have really complex characters they do a really good job at.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is so good at balancing comedy and drama in a way that I haven't, a lot of actors are good at that, but he is just like a master at that because he's obviously so funny, but he's also so heartbreaking, and I think he does such a good job at that.
I would love if that nomination happened. Jim Parsons is an interesting stage person because he is so beloved in the community and he's clearly talented and everybody agrees on that. And he has given performances that many people have enjoyed, but he hasn't given a performance yet that everyone has been in agreement on.
An Act of God? People were mixed on that?
People liked him. They were mixed on the show. And so he was not nominated. He was not nominated from Boys in the Band. He was not nominated for The Normal Heart. And then he was nominated, I believe, for Lortel for Man of No Importance, but pretty much no other place. And he didn't win the Lortel for that. And he also, didn't get great reviews for Man of No Importance. It's such an interesting thing because it's so clear that everybody loves him and everybody wants him to be successful in this endeavor. And if this is the one that does it, fantastic. But I'm always sort of like, he's sort of like Daniel Radcliffe 5 years ago. He's 5 years behind Daniel Radcliffe on this Tony trajectory where I'm like, I think you've got one more show in you that you finally get your due on.
Right.
But maybe this is the show.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how reviews come in for it.
Yeah.
If the reviews are good for it, then I can see a world where, he gets in. I think that the stereophonic issue that we brought up earlier where they all are very good. Eli Gelb plays which character?
He plays the main soundboard guy.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. Because I was like, okay, Will Brill, I think, has like his moment earlier in the show.
Yeah.
And I think that makes him much more memorable than maybe some of the other characters.
Yeah.
But Eli Gelb, I think by the end of the show, you're like, okay, that's like the mainish role.
Yeah, he's the rock of the show for sure. I think those of all the men in Stereophonic, those are the two that I am most confident in predicting. I think if we're gonna go for a third dude, it would be Tom. The only issue with Tom is that his character is so unlikable.
He plays like the boyfriend.
Yeah,
okay.
He's so unlikable that it's very easy for people to just not want to vote for that. But he's so good as that role. That scene he has with Sarah at the end of Act 1 is incredible. And, you know, I can see a world where he doesn't get in. I can see a world where he does. You know, I think Michael does a really wonderful job in Enemy of the People. But again, that's another situation where it goes, are we really just going to kind of focus on Jeremy instead? And then, you know, Pearly Victorious, I think Kara and Leslie are definitely locks in that category. And if there's one surprise, it'll be Jay, who is just so deliciously Colonel Sanders. But, you know, we'll see.
And also the Uncle Vanya men.
Yeah. And what I've heard is that William Jackson Harper is the best performance in Vanya.
Okay.
And so he could be the lone nomination. Let's go to leading. Let's do actor, actress of a play, knock those out. Then we'll do director, choreographer, and then move on to actor, actress, musical.
We also I think we missed orchestrations.
Yeah, we all miss
That's
orchestrations.
okay. Orchestrations, it's going to...
I think it's going to be Merrily.
It's going to Beth Level.
Beth Level. I think we're talking Merrily, SUFFS, Outsiders, Cabaret, and then maybe Illinois.
Great.
Since they can't nominate for score. There we go. Fantastic.
There you
Okay. So lead actor in a play. I have Jeremy Strong. I think he's winning. I think his biggest competition is Michael Stuhlbarg for Patriots. If Will Keane is considered lead, he will go in there, and I think he will get nominated as well. Otherwise, I think we're looking... How many do we have? 3, 6, 8. Okay, so we only have 4 nominees here. So I think we have Jeremy Strong, Leslie Odom Jr., Michael Stuhlbarg, and Steve Carell. I think those are the 4.
Yeah, I agree with those 4. I think I would argue that it's Jeremy versus Leslie for the kind of... I mean, this is, we guess, talking about the win. But I feel like those are kind of the 2 front runners there. Because Leslie, I mean, again, closed show was a little bit ago, but he gave such a good performance.
He was fantastic. I'm not saying that it's Leslie's out of the running because he wasn't good.
Right.
Michael is currently here, and when you go see Patriots, I've found it cold. It's not deathly dull, but it is a very cold show, so your mind will wander from time to time. But Michael and Will are captivating, and it does feel like the Michael show. So in the same way that Pearly was often the Leslie show.
Yeah, but I think those 4 are pretty good. I think if there's anyone that we didn't mention would be Liv Schreiber.
Yeah, Liv Schreiber.
But again, it's kind of like the doubt. It's like, exactly. I have doubt.
I have such doubts. Actress in a play. I think this is another one that's 4. I think we have Jessica Lange for Mother Play, Rachel McAdams for Mary Jane, Sarah Paulson for Appropriate, who is winning. And then if Betsy Item is considered lead, I'm putting her in there. That'll be our 4th. If she's not, then it's Amy Ryan for Doubt, and I think that's a very easy 4.
Yes, I agree with you about Betsy Item. If she goes in there, then I think that it's going to be Sarah Paulson, Rachel McAdams, Jessica Lange, and then her, Betsy Item. I would say, again, having not seen Vanya yet, Anika Renani Rose.
I don't
want to count her out.
Yeah, I don't know why Gold Derby had Anika in for lead.
I think she's featured.
I think she's featured.
Okay.
From what I understand of this production, she's featured.
Yeah, and Amy Ryan does have the story behind her, right?
Where
it is a big role that she took on very last minute and did a good job,
a solid job. Yeah.
And so I think there is that element, but
absolutely. If Betsy, well, I'll be honest. I think even if Betsy gets put in lead, I think it actually will be Amy. Now that I'm thinking about it, I would prefer it to be Betsy, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean,
Sarah Paulson is
Sarah Paulson's winning.
Should make room. Yeah.
And I think Rachel McAdams will be her biggest competition, but it's Sarah Paulson's to lose.
Yeah, and Rachel McAdams is very good.
I'm sure she is.
Right.
It's just that Appropriate is very much a hit, and it's a lot to do with Sarah, both her performance and her star power.
Right.
And Appropriate could win Revival, or it could be Enemy of the People, and therefore Sarah will win Actress. Spread the love.
Right.
Yeah.
You
know what I mean? Okay. Director of a play. I'm going to say Daniel Ocken for Stereophonic. I am going to say Lila. I don't know how you say her last name. Nujabauer.
Sure. Yeah.
For Appropriate. Rupert Gould for Patriots, just because it's so directory. Sam Gold for Enemy of the People. And Anne Kaufman for Mary Jane, maybe? Or David Cromer for Prayer.
Yeah, again, this will be something where, depending on how reviews come in for Mary Jane, I can see like Anne Kaufman getting in there because if they're like, this is the best show we've ever seen, I love it, then yeah, sure, she can get in. I think that
you keep saying that best show I've ever seen.
No, but like it's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they could just say we loved it. Yeah,
they said we love it, and we also love Anne Kaufman. She's lovely.
Yeah, she's great. I enjoyed her Assassins at Encores.
Yeah, so Daniel Aukin, Stereophonic, is my first pick. The one that you didn't mention that I actually have pretty high up there is Kenny Leon for Pearly Victorious.
Yeah,
because he's really well liked.
He is.
Pearly Victorious is one of those scripts where the script itself, it could go either way. You could have a terrible production of the show. You could have a fantastic production of the show. I think it was a very good production.
Kenny wasn't nominated for Top Dog, was he? I don't think he was.
I wouldn't know. But I can't remember.
My thing with Kenny has always been, as a play director, what he does really well is he casts his shows really well, and he's very good at sort of guiding everyone in the cast together, which sounds like a weak compliment, but it's not, because as I've mentioned before, there are some directors I also really love who I think one of their biggest issues is they have a hard time getting their entire company to be in the same show. But for Pearly, a show that is very farcical, I wish that there was a bit more inventive comedic direction, but I can see that happening. Again, Pearly was such a surprise for everyone, and was, even though it is closed, I think that it could benefit from the love that it had. I think our absolute lock is Daniel Aukin for Stereophonic, and then Lila for Appropriate, and then after that it could go anywhere. Yeah,
so I'd have Daniel, Kenny Leon, Pearly Victorious, Lila for Appropriate, Sam Gold, Enemy of the People, and then I would, who do I have for the last spot? I feel like
the reason I say
David Cromer was the last one.
Sure.
I had.
The reason I say Rupert Gould for Patriots is just that when you see it, like, it is, if you know Rupert Gould's work, it's very Rupert Gould. This is the dude who did American Psycho and did King Charles III. He's just very, not ostentatious, but it's just very big all the time, and very abstract, and very clever, and a lot of people really enjoy that. And
right.
I think he does a solid job, but it is a lot of direction. I think that sometimes helps. Choreography. We have, here are our options: Back to the Future, Cabaret, Days of Wine and Roses.
This is just every music.
I know. And they had a choreographer, so it's eligible. Harmony, Hell's Kitchen, Here Lies Love, How to Dance in Ohio, Illinois, Lempicka, Merrily We Roll Along, Spamalot, Once Upon a One More Time, SUFFS, Great Gatsby, Heart of Rock and Roll, Outsiders, Tommy, The Wiz, Water for Elephants. I'm going to first say Water for Elephants and The Outsiders right now are my favorite pieces of choreography currently playing. Illinois starts in a few days. The moment it opens, it'll be a front runner and will most likely win. So those are my top three. After that, I would probably say, in terms of what I'm going to predict, Cabaret and Tommy. I don't love the choreography in Tommy. It's the same choreographer as Heart of Rock and Roll, which I also didn't love the choreography on that. But Tommy, I think, will have more momentum behind it, and therefore Lauren, the choreographer, will get in for that. Right. There's also the possibility of Hell's Kitchen. That can happen. Again, a lot of really great choreography. My issue is that there's honestly just too much of it. There are times when it's ridiculous when it happens, and then times where it's beautiful when it happens.
Right. Yeah, no, I have Cabaret out front.
Oh, really?
The choreo is very impressive in the show, mainly because it's different. And sometimes that works against it. Sometimes Cabaret is very much this production of Cabaret is trying very hard to be different, but I feel like the choreo being different it works really, really well.
Yeah.
I think they use the space extremely well. And again, if the pre-show is included in that, I don't know. But I have Cabaret, Illinois, which I think also, obviously, it's a choreo show. Tommy, Water for Elephants, and The Outsiders. The one that I'm, could see getting it is The Wiz. Haven't seen it, so don't know. But, it is a big dancey show.
We don't know her.
Yeah. Hell's Kitchen, to your point as well. And then, this is the one I feel like everyone's talking about with, like, it could get in for choreo, which is Once Upon a One More Time. I think
everyone
it's
needs
a tough hill. Yeah,
everyone needs to let that dream go. I'm talking specifically to Connor and Dylan McDowell of the Drama Podcast, dear friends, hi boys. I think you guys need to let go of the dream of Laura Bell Bundy for The Cottage, and I think you need to let go of the dream of Once Upon a One More Time for Jennifer Samard and for choreography. Let it go. And I'll say the choreography for Once Upon a One More Time was impressively clean and crisp and intricate, but that show was closed. It was not well liked. Let the balloon fly.
Days of Wine and Roses, best choreo.
Absolutely. My God, best featured actress for that daughter. My Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Best featured actress in Once Upon a One More Time for that kid.
There were a lot of kids this season. You had a kid in Appropriate. You had a kid in Days of Wine and Roses.
You had a kid in
Merrily,
and Once Upon a One More Time. You had a kid in
Lempicka. You had an adult playing a kid.
17, 18-year-old playing a kid. Yeah, no, I think what's so weird is she looked older because they were dressing her so much younger, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's 18.
Was there a kid in anything? There was no kid in Water for Elephants, am I wrong?
No kid in Water for Elephants.
Anyways.
Yeah. Kind of a kid in Prayer for the French Republic, like a 16-ish-year-old.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways.
Yeah. There were kids in Grey House.
Well, not anymore. 'Cause it's closed.
I know, but they were
there.
They were there. They were in it. I saw them. They danced and sang in harmony. Okay,
great, lovely.
Lead actor and actress in a musical.
Okay,
let's do actress because it's a little weaker and actor is a little more competitive.
Yeah, so I think here Kelly O'Hara, Days of Wine and Roses, Marion Plunkett, The Notebook, Eden Espinosa for Lempicka, Gail Rankin, Cabaret, and Malaya Joy Moon, Hell's Kitchen. So I'm leaving out the one that I'd be leaving out there that I'm torn about is Shayna.
Same. I think, and if Marianne is put in featured, then I think Shayna takes Marianne's spot. Yes. Easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. I am going to actually swap out Eden for Shayna. And I only say this because the thing about Lempicka right now, it'd be one thing if they didn't get great reviews and then we sort of left it at that, and then nominators would be like, you know what? Eden's back. Let's nominate her. We love her, and she's working so hard, and she's taken a chance on a new show. But the way that the energy around that show right now is kind of toxic because of how everyone has been reacting. Everyone involved on the production side has been reacting to the reviews and has created a discourse online that is not copacetic. So I can see a world where nominators are like, I don't really want to touch that because that's just any feelings I had about it, positive or negative, it just feels kind of like a cesspool right now. But
yeah, I mean, production aside, Eden Espinosa plays Tamara de Lempicka in the musical Lempicka.
Sure.
Right? Like
Elena Roger played Evita in Evita. She did not get a nomination.
I also think Eden Espinosa is well liked. You know, I think.
Oh, is that what you think?
Yes, I do think that
she is.
I also will say, again, I'm by the production team of Lempicka. I'm very close with, and so like I have definitely different thoughts on this, but they are also really, your thoughts aside, lovely production team. There's some lovely people behind that show.
People can be lovely. Just right. This past week has been insane. Is all I'm saying.
It's always insane in this economy, but. The one I want to call out also that I think will get in, I'm very happy if she'll get in, is Malaya Joy Moon for Hell's Kitchen. She is a standout performance. She's absolutely getting it. Honestly, if I were looking at this list and I had to vote for somebody, I'd vote for her. I think she'll get in. I don't think she'll win. I think it's going to be between Kelly O'Hara and a Gail for Cabaret. The one that we're leaving out here that maybe could be in the conversation, or two actually, is Ava Noblezada for The Great Gatsby. And I'm curious your thoughts there. And then Izzy McCullough for Water for Elephants.
I would probably, what makes these nomination predictions so fun is like we're trying to figure out how other people are going to think, and it's hard to do that when your own bias comes in. So I'm like looking at this going, I think, Izzy or Ariel Jacobs for Here Lies Love could possibly get in. But, I don't think Ariel will get in. But Izzy, I think, does a lot with an okay role. A role that is, I think, much stronger in Act 1 than in Act 2. And she, holds on to it and makes something out of it. Having now seen Great Gatsby, and I have been very vocal about how much I love Ava. I think she is one of our most special, women of this generation right now in musical theater. In a generation where I don't find a lot of special people. I do not enjoy her performance in Great Gatsby, but that's also because I don't enjoy anyone's performance in Great Gatsby. Everyone sounds good. No one, when you watch it, has any idea of their character. They are all doing very different things, and they're all sort of leaning into tropes of musical theaterdom, which is not itself a bad thing, but watching it was like, this feels like a musical version of Gatsby that people who hate musicals are imagining right now. Like if you were to tell a intelligentsia They made a musical out of Great Gatsby, and like, oh, musicals. I'm imagining that they're going to have some, like, pop rock opening number. Everyone's talking about the Roaring Twenties, and Gatsby and Daisy are going to have a big soaring love ballad straight out of Les Mis. Stupid. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. It happens. It's there.
That's some
both
good
of those
voice
things.
work.
Thank you so much. But like, they have this big love duet at the end of Act 1, all of, about the green light and then the shirts. And I'm watching and being like, the whole scene with the shirts where she's crying, she's not crying because she's in love with Gatsby. She's crying because she's that shallow. She's like, oh my God, there are 300 beautiful shirts from London. I'm obsessed. Mm-hmm. It's Paris Hilton being like, that's hot, but in a 20s way. So Ava could get in. Again, she is well liked. She is a star. And she and Jeremy are the face of that production right now. But it's not a dynamic. What I've always associated Ava with dynamic performances. Hadestown, Miss Saigon, like, she comes to the stage with fire, and she is so cool in Gatsby. And part of that is sort of the tone of the role, but also she is going a lot cooler than I have seen women play that role before. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But my picks right now are Kelly, who, if that were still running, she would win, but it's closed, and I think that's going to be really difficult for her to get. Mm-hmm. Marianne, Malia, who's, my issues with Hell's Kitchen aside, she, Shoshana, and Keisha make that show worth seeing. Mm-hmm. So that's 3. I'm going to say Gail, and I'm going to say Shayna. I think that's going to happen. Shayna does a very nice job in that show. I think that Eden might be a more fiery performance, but I think SUFFS works more consistently than Lempicka. But also, you liked Lempicka more than I did, and there are people who love Lempicka, so it could happen. If Eden gets in, I'm not gonna cry. I'll be so happy for her.
Yeah,
I love that bitch.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We shall see. Best actor in a musical: Eden Espinosa for Lempicka.
Best level for Lempicka.
I'm Back to the Future.
I'll keep going. Yeah, Back to the Future. We're really playing on the bits here. Okay, so Jonathan Groff, Merrily.
Yes.
Eddie Redmayne, Cabaret. Mm-hmm. Brian Darcy James, Days of Wine and Roses.
1000%.
Also gonna say, who else did I have in here? What's his face? Brody Grant, The Outsiders. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna say Dorian Harewood for The Notebook. Who did I leave out there that I was debating is both the Gutenberg boys, mm-hmm. Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells, mm-hmm. and also I'm losing my train of thought. Who else? Oh,
Ollie for Tommy.
Ollie for Tommy. Jeremy Jordan for The Great Gatsby. Let's out, and then Chip Zien for Harmony. Because I think Harmony, if its biggest shot at getting a nomination, will be right here.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Who do you think?
First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to Justin Guarini for Once Upon a One More Time, a show that I despised, but I was like, you, sir, are doing the thing. And I just want to say, Justin, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, Joanna.
You're welcome on the podcast anytime.
Anytime you want, Daddy. I think Eddie, Brian, J. Groff are absolute locks. I think this is where I'm also sort of like, but what if Gutenberg gets a revival nomination because people are like, well, I'm not going to nominate the boys. There are too many options, but let's nominate the show. Mm-hmm. Or if they're like, well, we're not going to nominate the show, but let's nominate the boys. It's. I feel like one or the other could happen.
Right, but they both have to get in if they're nominated.
That's the thing, right?
Right. It would be really awkward if only one of them got in, but also like it's like you can't pick one of them.
I would love, but also I know that if only one of them got in, the social media post that the two of them would devise about that would be hilarious and stellar. And right. I would, because they would take it in stride and just come up with such great content. Because the one thing about Gutenberg was that I think they nailed the social media game and actually turned that into ticket sales, which is something that is impossible to do for Broadway.
Right. Especially because I don't think that celebrity producer bit, from my understanding, wasn't really supposed to be a bit until like the first performance. It started happening, and then they were like, "Oh wait, we have an opportunity here."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they both did incredible work with that.
But they did. I think I'm gonna put in Ollie for Tommy, who sings beautifully. I was not enthralled with his performance, but and also we'll see what happens. I know they're pushing him for lead. That role was played by Michael Cerveris originally, and that was featured in the past.
Interesting.
So that could happen. I would love to see Dorian Harewood get in there. I think between Dorian and Chip, people will put in Chip. I also think it doesn't behoove. I think people will think about the idea of an all-white category, which sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles. But if there are options to have at least one person of color in there and it's not taken, people will say things. And that's one of the few things. The Tonys are one of the few nominating bodies that do take that into account.
Yeah. So your 5 are.
I'm sorry, that's a long way to go.
No.
Brian Darcy James, Jonathan Groff, Eddie Redmayne. And then I am going to say Dorian Harewood and Ali. And I am totally going to back off on that in a day or two.
So Brody Grant out.
Probably. I think Brody has a good shot of getting in there. And if he's going to take out anyone, it's going to be Dorian.
Mm-hmm.
I think... because I think with Andrew and Josh, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And so and with those 3 locks, I just find it hard to believe that Ali, Brody, and Dorian or Chip, that none of them will get in, but Josh and Andrew will.
Right. And then, but also we're leaving out Grant Gustin, Jeremy Jordan, which I think
I'm not leaving them out.
You're never leaving them out. You're like, all are welcome.
And Corey
as
Cott.
many men as you want.
And Corey Cott. You didn't say Corey Cott or James Monroe Eichelhart. Problematic. I think, and your favorite, Casey Likes in Back to the Future.
He's got a big social media moment though. I keep seeing him on TikTok. And
he's very popular with the girls because he's young and he's cute and he's gotten success quite early. I think that, and let's not be cunty. He's talented.
Yeah.
I think he's a very charming person. I can't wait to see him in a show that's not based off of a movie directly. I think that Grant will not get in for Water for Elephants. I think he does what he can, but 2 things are sort of in the way for me. One is that score doesn't totally sit in his voice. He's actually a bit more of a tenor than you would believe, because it sits in a baritone range until the end of Act 1, and then he gets to pop off to like a G, and you're like, oh, this is where you live.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Yeah. Like, I remember watching that Act 1 finale being like, oh, this is where we live.
Right.
And also that role is just such a cipher, and so it allows Paul and Izzy to kind of have more stuff going on and not him. And then Jeremy and Gatsby is interesting because Jeremy sings how Jeremy sings. It gets you pregnant every time. And he nails his assignment on this score. As a Gatsby, first of all, he's doing an accent that I don't understand. I think he's trying to do Mid-Atlantic, but it like comes off as British.
Oh, interesting.
Like he's trying to do, Jimmy Stewart in Philadelphia Story or Cary Grant, and it's coming off as, Tim Curry. Old sport. And he's also does a weird thing. Like, he's going for kind of a weirdly comedic Gatsby. Like, he does a lot of physical comedy that I don't quite understand. But, I'm not going to say he's well liked. He's well respected in the community. And he and Ava definitely have a fan base that are coming out to see Gatsby right now. Yeah, coming out right now. This is not a Jeremy problem. This is a problem with us as a society. When any white boy with a chin comes out on stage to sing Pretty to You, people lose their vaginas. And I'm like, can we maybe remember that we're human beings for a second with the ability to hold a pen and paper and vote?
Yeah, and tangent, but I also think that it's a trend that a lot of producers are not thinking through that well, right? Like, I think that there are a lot of those sorts of people that maybe don't move tickets as much as they would like, i.e. see who they've put in Little Shop of Horrors, right? Very talented people, but I do think that, like, I hope at least as a society we're starting to appreciate like more refined talent. That's not to say first off, Jeremy Jordan is like basic talent. I think he's incredibly talented.
Oh yeah.
I've not seen The Great Gatsby, but I do think it's a really interesting kind of topic.
What a hot take. Jeremy Jordan is talented. Yeah, no,
sorry. Yeah, I know, such a hot take. Well, no, but okay, but your hot take is that he's not getting a Tony nom this year.
Yeah, that is
he'll
my
be
hot
watching
take.
From his couch.
Or he'll be watching from the audience.
Or your couch. Yeah.
My couch. No. That I don't think Jeremy Jordan would even entertain the idea of gay baiting. I think he just is like, take me as I am, and if you have a problem with it, there's the exit, baby.
Have you seen his cover of It's All Coming Back to Me Now, though?
Sure have.
Because I don't know about you, but
you think that's gay baiting? That's just
I'm gay and it baited me, baby.
A pretzel baits you. Like,
that's true.
You are the.
I love a good soft pretzel, though.
You're the horny anomaly.
Anyways,
I need nip. I need belly button. That's what I need.
Best director of a play.
We did that already. We didn't do director of musical. Oh shit, that's one that we didn't do. Okay,
is that the last one?
That's the last one.
Oh shit!
I thought actor was going to be the last one. Okay, director of a musical. I'm gonna say, let me go. Danya Tamor, The Outsiders. Jessica Stone, Water for Elephants. Actually, no, sorry. Let me tell you that. Danya Tamor, The Outsiders. Maria Friedman, Merrily We Roll Along. Rebecca Frecknell, Cabaret. So that's 3. then I'm going to say, yeah, Jessica Stone, Water for Elephants, and then Des McAnuff, Tommy. Those would be my 5. What are your 5?
The 5 that you gave are the 5 that I would nominate.
That you would not nominate.
That I would.
Oh, that you would. Okay.
I think that Maria Friedman, Rebecca Frecknell, top 2.
Mm-hmm.
Danya Tamor, The Outsiders. Jessica Stone, Water for Elephants.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, I would put in. Say his name, Des
McAnuff.
Des McAnuff, right? Yeah. I would put him in for Tommy. I'm gonna say Michael Greif for Days of Wine and Roses.
Interesting.
I think that, look, this man did 3 shows on Broadway this season.
Yeah.
You know, I would be sad if he does not get in somewhere. But then again, everyone last year was like, Pippa could get nominated twice, and she didn't, right?
She didn't. So I think if Michael's getting in anywhere, it's him and Shelley for The Notebook.
Because also that's like 2 birds.
Yeah, exactly. Because then Shelley, gets nominated, if not for The Wiz, but with Michael for Notebook. But I don't know.
Also, I don't know if it's Leigh or Lee, but Leigh Silverman for SUFFS could also happen.
I think it's Lee.
Lee Silverman.
I think Lee could definitely get in, especially because the thing with SUFFS, as we talked about before, that got mentioned in all the reviews was how improved it was from Off-Broadway. Mm-hmm. And Shayna definitely got the heavy praise about that of, listen, it's still not perfect, but you've made leaps and bounds. Props to you, mama. I think people who understand a director's role in an original musical understand how much Lee probably helped with that. Mm-hmm. And she could definitely get nominated for just, not helping, but collaborating with Shayna and making the improvements from Off-Broadway. So that can help happen. Or Justin Peck for Illinois.
I would love that, but I don't know if the nominators are going to be like, there's a difference between choreography and direction for a choreo-heavy show.
Well, it's happened before, I think something like that is easier to do when the choreographer is the director. So something like Illinois can fall in line with, say, a Contact or a Dancin' or a Swan Lake by Matthew Bourne, where Matthew Bourne won choreographer and director for Swan Lake back in '99. I'll never forget it. I'll say I never forget. I'll never forget that fact.
I'll never forget it.
I'll never forget that fact. Because it was, it was a very bold take on that ballet, and it was very much, he had a vision, but it wasn't like a stagey piece. There were no book scenes. It was a ballet. Mm-hmm. And I think Illinois is Justin Peck's brainchild. And so the whole concept of it is sort of where people, I don't think he'll win, but I think that there are people who can think of, he made this happen. He put it all together. Mm-hmm. Therefore, if this show works, it's not just because the dancing is beautiful, it's because it all comes together so beautifully. So I think he's, if not a lock, I think he is an option that we cannot discourage.
Right.
I think there are some people, I want to grieve some people who I think won't get in and did very good work.
Alex Timbers
for Here Lies Love. Yeah, exactly. Yes,
that's it. So that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. I think Warren Carlyle did a good job with harmony, but
I thought there were some beautiful stage pictures. I had some issues with his with some other things. Yeah, so I think we have our 2 locks obviously, which are Rebecca for Cabaret and Maria for Merrily, and I think Maria's most likely going to win there. Mm-hmm. And then it's definitely kind of an open season for everybody else, and I think it's sort of those sort of swimming around trying to find their spot in the pool would be Danya for Outsiders, Des for Tommy, Jessica for Water for Elephants, Justin for Illinois, and then Lee for SUFFS, and Michael and Shelley for Notebooks. That's 6. So
six figuring out the last 3.
So 1 out of every 2.
Yeah.
And I'm of those 6, I'm saying Danya, and I'm saying
Jessica
and Des. But I think Jessica's kind of vulnerable. I think that can go to Michael and Shelley or Lee. I think I actually think Danya has a much more lock on her spot than the rest of the 6, but she's not as much of a lock as Maria and Rebecca.
I want to see her Spider-Man turn off the dark.
I sure do too. I have only seen Outsiders and Jonah, but I got to tell you, Danya has quickly become a director that I am very on board for and want to see more of her stuff.
Jonah with my roommate from Stage Door Manor, Hagen Oliveras, who is going to be in the revival of our town next season.
Was he the one who played Jonah?
He's the one who went shirtless.
Yeah.
Was he Jonah? I didn't see the show.
That's Jonah.
Clearly, I'm a good friend.
You're clearly a good friend. I didn't know he went to stage short. Yeah, he's got a ripped body. I saw it with my mom, and he took off his shirt, and my mom was like, "Oh."
Yeah. Also, the sweetest guy in the entire world. Of course, he is.
Sweet. He seemed sweet on stage.
But yeah, and he almost won a Tony for his portrayal of Jesus in Godspell and the Oasis at Stage Door Manor. It was very, very, very close call. But
So close. Anyways, this has been wonderful, babe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I had fun.
I had so much fun. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Where can the listeners find you if you want them to find you?
Oh, my Instagram, which is, I had to think for a second. I was like, where can they find me? I was going to give a joke answer, but nothing about theater is funny. My Instagram, which is at david.lynch. Mm-hmm. Or if you're nasty, find me on LinkedIn. No, seriously, if you're into like Broadway analytics, Broadway numbers, I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn about that stuff. So interesting world to find me. Or come see Enemy of the People and tell me that you went. Yeah. And I'll say thanks. That's cool.
I'm going again on the 30th with my grandma, taking her. Aww. Yeah, Tony nomination day, baby.
There you go.
Yeah,
this time, I'll either be really happy or really, really sad. We'll see.
Yeah, well, hopefully this time there won't be any protesters interrupting, which is
right.
I told you. I texted you and that happened.
And I was like, I literally was like not on my phone. I was like, what happened? Oh, yeah. But then I came up with the caption that the show's so hot, climate change protesters are worried, which they did not use for social.
They did not. Well, I think they wanted to take it a little more seriously than that.
I thought it was very clever.
It was incredibly clever.
That's the second show I produced where protesters have come.
Parade was the other one. Yeah.
So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
It's me. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at Matt Koplik, usual spelling, and that's it. If you like the podcast, give us a nice 5-star rating or review. We've got a nice little quick one from this past Wednesday, and it is, I don't even think it's too short to even do a Light in the Piazza overture underscoring. It's 5 stars. Title is Tunnel of Love, and the review is Sideshow episode is the best. Thank you so much. That is one of our longer episodes with Gunkle of the Pod, Adam Ellsbury.
Thank you, Emily Skinner.
Thank you, Emily Skinner. I said it on my review for SUFFS, and you'll agree with me. And David can attest to this. When we saw SUFFS, the people were losing their shit for Jen Colella. They gave very polite applause to Shayna Taub and Nick James. And then when Emily Skinner showed up, I was the only one who applauded, and I tried really hard, and he basically shut me up because no one else. Yeah, you took my hands and you put them on my lap.
Well, that's because you were like about to give a standing O.
Because I was
like, this is it.
Yeah, well, because I was like, I knew no one else was going to applaud, and I was like, I will make this applause happen for her entrance, and it just wasn't happening. And David was like, stop it. And I at intermission was like, no one here's allowed to celebrate Pride this year.
Honestly, but all the no, I'm not gonna say that. But yeah.
Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Join us for the next 2 episodes. One is with an interview with the lighting designer of Spamalot and Great Gatsby, and then the other one is our final predictions and our hopes for some long shots for the Tony nominations this year. And David, who would you like to play us out diva-wise in our play out?
Oh, I forgot. I normally don't listen to the end of your podcast.
I know you don't make it this far.
Diva. Let's go with somebody a little not off the beaten path, but I'll give you not a tough one. But let's go with Stephanie J. Block.
That's not on the beaten path.
No, but it's not like Patty or Barbara. It's like Stephanie J. Block.
Yeah, sure. No, she is very much Barbara Patty for the children, I would suppose. Yeah, Stephanie J. Block. Yeah, no, like the TikTok generation. They're like, oh my god,
Stephanie J. Block. Okay, if they didn't know who Emily Skinner was, they're not going to know who Stephanie J. Block was.
Well, SJB has a Tony, and she got very big because of Wicked and Falsettos with the kids.
That's true. She was an Elphaba.
Yeah, she was an Elphaba. That's very fair. And then when Falsettos went on Lincoln Center Live, all the kids watched it, and they're like, oh my god, Trina. So having video as they should. If there was a professional video of Sideshow with Emily and Alice, I guarantee you the children would flop. But SJB, yeah, we'll do SJB. I mean, we've had her once. I know we did. I love to hear the music from Boy from Oz. It's always been my go-to with her, but I'll find something else for her. I don't know. Maybe we'll do writing on the wall. Sure. Maybe we'll do writing on the wall from Drood or something like that. Oh, we'll figure it out.
Ooh, that's good.
Writing on the wall. Yeah,
she's here.
She's here right now. Yeah, we'll do SJB. Okay, that's it. So thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week, and take it away, Steph. Bye.
I have read the